Advisor.
Oil lights never come on at a good time. You've got enough to juggle, so let Take 5 handle it. Drive in, stay in your car, and roll out in 10 minutes. No waiting room, no stress, just fast, friendly service. Visit take5.com today to find your nearest shop.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
Coming up in 2 minutes, the celebration of life for Haley Busby, how the surrounding communities are honoring the Fishers teenager, where a man was shot late last night in Indianapolis and what his condition is this morning, and how much the Pacers are being fined over what the league says they did. From the Dugan Air Heating and Cooling Mitsubishi Electric Studios, you're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 9 o'clock.
A little less inflation. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The annual rate of consumer price increase declined from December. Fox's Jenny Casola has the better than expected numbers.
Price increases moderated in January. The consumer price index rose just 0.2% for the month and 2.4% on an annual basis.
That is 0.3 lower than December's inflation rate. Right before the numbers came out, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told Fox.
We also see as inflation has come down, wages have increased under this president. So Americans have more purchasing power.
Leavitt also blames Democrats for funding running out at midnight for much of Homeland Security.
The brave men and women of our United States Coast Guard, of FEMA, who are still helping Americans turn their lights on from the recent winter storm, and the men and women of TSA that work diligently to keep our airports moving and keep flights efficiently going, are going to go without a paycheck.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer demands immigration enforcement reform be included in any new Homeland Security funding.
Republicans chose to put a bill on the floor that ignored the abuses, ignored the outrage, ignored what the American people want overwhelmingly.
ICE already has funding to continue operations from the Big Beautiful Bill. The reward for information leading to an arrest in Nancy Guthrie's kidnapping is up to $100,000. A glove was found inside the 84-year-old's home, and on day 13 of the search, Fox's Matt Finn reports from Tucson, Arizona.
The Pima County Sheriff is asking anyone with a camera in the area of East Skyline Drive and North Campbell Avenue, it's about a 2-mile radius here, to check their video from January 1st through February 1st and submit the video to the Pima County Sheriff's online link. The sheriff is looking for people, cars, or, of course, anything suspicious.
A new crew will arrive at the International Space Station tomorrow.
3, 2.
SpaceX launched them about 4 hours ago to replace the last crew brought home early when one astronaut needed medical treatment. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Remembering a kind soul. Sunny skies over downtown Indianapolis. It's 28 this hour. We're heading up to a high of 52. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 9:02. A gathering at I-Town Church in Fishers of family, friends, and city leaders honoring Haley Busby. Jake McDaniel has more.
Dear Haley Page, hi, sweetheart. I want you to know how incredibly grateful I am for the time we had together on this earth.
At her memorial service Thursday evening, Chris Cole, one of the pastors at the church, read a letter that Haley's dad, Bo Busby, wrote to her.
I still consider myself the luckiest dad ever. I will always feel your sweet hugs and kisses on my cheek, though now I won't have to wipe off the lip gloss. You'd apologize for that, but I always wore it with pride.
Haley's uncle, Mark Miranda, also spoke at the service. He says Haley would only eat chicken and fries as a small child, but eventually it got to this point.
Haley would make these bacon and egg sandwiches with buffalo sauce and would always ask her family if they wanted one and would prepare the egg to their liking.
Jake McDaniel, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
A man is last reported to be at the hospital in serious condition after being shot late last night. IMPD says they were called to a gas station along Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Street on the north side at around 10:30. The man was shot at a different location and then drove himself to the gas station. IMPD is asking for more information. The 18th and final edition of the Celebration of Caring Gala happening at Lucas Oil Stadium on Thursday. Peyton Manning playing host to the event, expressing his gratitude for the community's support and generosity over the years.
The programs we've been able to provide through the money raised, right? I mean, after tonight,
we're going to be close to $25 million in 18 years.
That money helps support the Peyton Manning Children's Hospital, giving doctors and nurses the resources they need to assist patients and their families. Thursday's gala featured a reception, a dinner, and a special performance by country music singer Riley Green. AAA says the average price of gas today in Indiana is at $2.86 a gallon. The national average is 8 cents more at $2.94. The Indiana Pacers getting a hefty fine from the NBA this week, $100,000. League Commissioner Adam Silver stated that the team violated the player participation policies by holding players out of a game against the Utah Jazz when they were healthy to play. The Jazz were fined $500,000 for similar infractions. Lots of college hoops coming up this weekend. Purdue will be at Iowa, coming off their big win over Nebraska. Head coach Matt Painter on playing tough opponents this month.
And so that's what you want. You want those opportunities to improve your resume for the NCAA tournament, but you also want to, hopefully keep winning games and put yourself in a position the last week of the season.
The Boilers are currently in third place in the Big Ten, 2.5 games behind Michigan. They need Indiana to beat Illinois this Sunday. Considering that they beat Iowa, that would move Purdue into second place in the conference. Traffic on the 5s. Here's Matt Bear.
All right, Jared, south side northbound 65 slow in spots. Keystone to the south split. Police activity northbound 65 coming out of the north split, and the left shoulder is blocked. Traffic sponsored by Grand Appliance. Get up to $1,100 in extra savings on GE Profile, Cafe, and more exclusively at Grand Appliance. Now through February 25th, visit grandappliance.com today. I'm Matt Bear with traffic on the 5s. Follow us at WIBC Traffic.
Hey, what's going on? It's Hammer from the Hammer and Nigel show. And I'm not going to lie to you. I needed help. I got a bald spot in the back of my head, and it's embarrassing. I see it when I'm on television. I see it when I'm on the YouTube channel. So I decided to reach out for help. And my friends at We Grow Hair Indie decided to help me out here. These guys are the absolute best. I was a little leery about it. I could not have a procedure that, 1, hurt, or 2, left me looking like I'd been scalped. But after I talked with Darren and the entire team at We Grow Hair Indie, they told me their state-of-the-art technology, the progress made in hair growth, it's going to be okay. If I can do this, you guys can do this. Contact the team at We Grow Hair Indie, 317-522-2995. That's 522-2995. Get that free evaluation. It's free. You can also go online to WeGrowHairIndie.com. Contact them today and do this with me. WeGrowHairIndie.com.
Meet Drexel Interior's new cabinet line, Drexel Select. Premium cabinets with multiple colors and free in-store design. Get yours in just 5 days. Visit DrexelIN.com to upgrade your home today.
The forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Mostly sunny, calm, warmer, beautiful. Today a high of 52. Partly cloudy, chilly, but not as cold overnight. A low down to 32. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey. 93 WIBC.
And I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level on the go and on WIBC.com. It's Friday the 13th. Ethan and Jerry are in.
Good morning, everybody. This is Ethan and Jerry broadcasting from the studios at Radio 1 on 93 WIBC. Jerry, we got a lot to get into, including the disappointing revelation that I think many people have already accepted, that unfortunately it seems incredibly likely there will be no accountability from the Epstein files. There will be no indictments from the Epstein files, and the multiple people that are supposed to have been involved in this mass sex trafficking scheme will go utterly unpunished. But first, before we get into that, I want to get into one of my personal gripes, which is these jackass bicyclists around town. I was going on Michigan Street coming into the studio, and I watched this ass blast through like 3 separate stoplights, completely uncaring, just blows right through them. And I am tired of these bicyclists who insist that they are vehicles, that it is dangerous for them to ride on sidewalks, but then they'll callously disregard rules of the road, regulations that we all else have to abide by. And look, if you want to be considered a vehicle and you want roadway privileges, then you should get a license, you should get registration, and you should be forced to carry insurance. You're laughing, but I'm not joking.
Yeah.
These guys are jerks.
Yeah, we have the same issue. So out in Hamilton County, it's a little different. You get a group of 15 old dads that want to do the Tour de France out there on 146, backing up traffic for forever, just riding, taking up the whole road. It's like, move over. It gets old real quick.
Where they're doing their bicycle cosplaying.
Yeah.
You know, they're in the Lycra.
They have the
and
whole uniforms, and they're meeting up behind the elementary school, and they're going to, it's like, dude, get out of the, you have ruined my Saturday morning.
They are giving vegans a run for their money in the most intolerable personality contest.
I will give that a, yeah.
Okay, but with that gripe out of the way, let's get down to brass tacks. We got more developments on the Epstein files this week, including testimony from Attorney General Pam Bondi. And at some point, we need to accept that the unwise cabinet choices that Donald Trump makes are a reflection on him and his presidency, because this was not good, Jerry. And the government seems very schizophrenic on whether there is any significance to the Epstein files or not. On the one hand, the Department of Justice has concluded Jeffrey Epstein was responsible for sex trafficking more than 1,000 girls. But on the other hand, the FBI has concluded there was no evidence in all that was actionable to move forward on prosecution for any of these women. While simultaneously, the Speaker of the House said that if a fully transparent release were to occur, it would result in the downfall of the government. On the other hand, there's no actionable items contained therein. Does this make sense to anybody that's paying attention?
Well, it definitely doesn't make sense to me, but I will tell you this as a Trump voter, and I support this administration. I am really disappointed. Listen, when it was him and Cash Patel, and now you got Dan Bongino, and you're going out and you're getting these pit bulls, from our opinion. You ran on releasing the Epstein files. You had influencers at the White House with these white binders that nobody saw what was in them. Supposedly we were told what? There was video camera in every single one of these rooms and hundreds of thousands of hours of tape, and he was trafficking to nobody, is what we're saying?
Yes. Of course, Virginia Guthrie made claims that she was lent out to his rich friends, but agents couldn't confirm that and found no other victims telling a similar story, according to records released by the FBI. Yet, in an email last July, agents said that there were at least 4 or 5 other Epstein accusers who said that they were sexually trafficked and abused by Epstein and others, but there was not enough evidence to move forward federally charging them with law enforcement. While Pam Bondi was giving her testimony, they were asked for victims to stand up in the gallery, and they hadn't been contacted by the Department of Justice at all. So how can you say that only Virginia Guthrie had came forward to make these claims when you have other people standing up, raising their hand, saying that they have testimony to offer the Department of Justice, but haven't been contacted? Yes, this is a reflection on Trump, especially when he made it a central campaign issue on transparency and releasing the Epstein files. And then as soon as he obtains the presidency, he says it's a Democrat hoax. This is ridiculous, Jerry.
Yeah, I want to know, if he wasn't trafficking to anybody, then what are we redacting? So if he's the only person and he was found or whatever, died in prison, was suicided in prison, like, what are we redacting?
That's a good question.
If none of these people did anything wrong, then go ahead and put their names in the email and they didn't do anything wrong. Prove it. Show us.
What it is it's gaslighting, Jerry, something that talk show host Joe Rogan pointed out.
FBI concluded Jeffrey Epstein wasn't running a sex trafficking ring for powerful men file show.
Ooh. So there you go.
Oh, there you go. Who says that? What's that source?
Yeah, it's going around. I just found the place that was showing the headline. It was going around the internet today.
Today?
Yeah, the AP. It's the AP reporting it. Yeah.
Today? Oh, I thought that was from 2005.
This is like the FBI.
I was like,
that's the gaslightiest gaslighting I've ever heard in my life.
Whoa.
What do they think is going on? Just a bunch of fun? A bunch of guys hanging out?
That is.
Being fellas? Having cocktails, talking about science?
They're still looking into it, but they don't have any evidence.
Oh.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
It's absolutely ridiculous, Jerry. And then you have senators like Cynthia Lummis, who said that as of Monday, she actually understands why people care about the Epstein files. And this was an interesting drop up unto itself. She is quoted as saying, "I have not been one of the members who's glommed onto this as an issue. I've sort of intentionally deferred to others to find out about it. But 9-year-old victims, wow. Are you telling me you didn't care about the Epstein files up until this point? That's a problem of it in and of itself. You weren't watching the news. You weren't paying attention to any of this. 1,000 victims, according to not conspiracy theorists, but the Department of Justice. And you said, I don't know. I don't care. I mean, at least she cares now. But what's she seeing in there that the FBI doesn't?
Well, to
Jerry?
me, there are very few things in this country that are bipartisan. This is one of them.
Yes,
you have Republicans
it should be.
and Democrats on, people on both sides, people in the middle going, we want to know what the heck happened. We want to hold those people accountable. And when the party that you just said, he ran on immigration and the Epstein files. That's it. Day one, we'll release them. We're still getting slow dripped all this information, and now they're saying there's nothing in there.
Well, the bad news, Jerry, is although the government is filled with billionaire pedophiles and their friends running around free, the good news is the Dow Jones is up to $50,000, so they're making millions more.
None of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Shut up, silly woman. We're going to be talking with the Attorney General about the stock market at your House Judiciary Committee hearing. Jerry, is any of this making sense to you?
Listen, somebody should have asked her what are the top 5 performing stocks and see where she went from there.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the Dow? Sweet. Tell me the top 5 performing stocks.
Show us what an expert you were. You know, maybe somebody should be asking the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick about the Dow, but there are separate conversations that need to be had.
Ethan, I need you to understand, this is really hard for me because this administration is turning into a colossal failure, and it sucks. Now, economically, yeah, we're doing great, and immigration, I'm good with that. But the Epstein files was the heart of one of the reasons why I voted.
Donald Trump is the president of the United States.
The most powerful man in the world.
Going back to Truman, I think he was the one that had on his desk, the buck stops here. The buck stops with you, man.
Yeah.
And these choices are a reflection on you. It is a reflection on Trump. And I am happy to praise Donald Trump with the work that he has done to secure the border. I am happy to praise Donald Trump with the peace agreements that he has signed with his foreign policy. But this is a mess that's going on with the Epstein files, and it's absolutely unacceptable. And here's a little extra salt on the wound, Jerry, because you had a campaign ad from Pam Bondi back when she was the Attorney General in Florida, and guess what promises she made back then?
Florida ranks 3rd nationally in calls for help for human trafficking, where young women and children are enslaved and abused. I knew we needed all hands on deck. Businesses and hospitals to spot it, our great law enforcement to stop it, and tougher penalties to punish it. We're taking on Medicaid fraud, pill mills, gangs, and more. And I'll fight to put human trafficking monsters where they belong, behind bars.
Pam Bondi, our Attorney General.
Well. How the turntables.
Wow, that ad did not age well at all. At all, Jerry. These people are shameless.
It makes you wonder what happens when you get into that position.
Yeah.
Like, do you get there and you realize, like, oh, I can't say anything?
Well, they say that there's not enough evidence to be actionable, to be actively prosecutable. You know what? Fine. The court of public opinion and a court of law are two totally different things. If there's not enough to move forward with prosecution, there is certainly enough to humiliate and publicly defenestrate these individuals for the rest of time. They should hold their heads in shame, and everybody in the public should know who they are and shame them every single day.
Well, I mean, I think we should make it more known that Jeffrey Epstein was found guilty in a Florida court for solicitation of a minor, and that was like 2006.
I think that was going back to 2008 when he got that sweetheart deal for sleeping with an underage prostitute, and it could have been a worse prosecution back then, but then that led up to the 2019 investigation because he never stopped.
But if you're still hanging out with this guy after that goes down, that says a lot about you.
Well, for example, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick or billionaire tech mogul Bill Gates, people who were both hanging around with this guy after he was a convicted pedophile. That's after he was a registered sex offender. And going back to what you'd mentioned earlier about the redactions, why are we redacting people if they had nothing to do with it and there's no actionable content against them? Yeah. This is a question that Joe Rogan was asking.
Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem sent the torture video to Epstein. This is in 2009. So Epstein was saying that. Where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video. Jeez. I am in China. I'll be in the U.S. second week of May. What the f***, man? And why is his name redacted? Why would your name be redacted if you're not a victim? Like, this is what's crazy about all this. Like, how come you redact some people and you don't redact other people? Like, what is this? This is not good. None of this is good for this administration. It looks terrible. It looks terrible. It looks terrible for Trump when he was saying that none of this was real. This is all a hoax. This is not a hoax. Like, did you not know? Maybe he didn't know, if you want to be charitable. But this is definitely not a hoax. And if you've got redacted people's names and these people aren't victims, you're not protecting the victims. So what are you doing? Right. And how come all this is not released?
A good question for another time.
I mean, let's prosecute the pedophiles. If we can't all be on the same page about that, what are we doing here?
Yeah, this single-handedly brings America together. We all are on board with this.
This should be a bipartisan issue, and right now, the Trump administration is letting us down, Jerry. Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. Ethan Hatcher and Jerry Lopez filling in. Coming up next, the government continues to defraud and disappoint you, as a report from last year indicates that more than 150,000 federal workers are currently not paying their taxes, including 50,000 people in the IRS. We'll tell you more details about that coming up next. Stay tuned.
It's an all-new date, but it's the same great bourbon. Saturday, February 28th, join me for Trump 1 year and 1 month later at the Hyatt Regency in downtown Indianapolis. The snow caused us to postpone, but it couldn't stop us. February 28th, downtown Indianapolis, the Hyatt Regency, Trump 1 year and 1 month later. The bourbon, the food, the live music, the red tie, and you. I'll have the full breakdown of how we win the midterms and more. Get your tickets. Go to WIBC.com. Trump 1 year and 1 month later at WIBC.com.
When you have a fire emergency, you need a restoration company you can trust to put everything back together. Pat Sullivan here for the Michaelis Corporation. I know, I've relied on Michaelis after a fire at my home. I'm here with the owner, Richard Michaelis. Richard, what makes Michaelis the right call if you have a fire?
Michaelis is local and family owned. We are your neighbors, 39 years of experience, and we'll respond 24/7, 365. The Michaelis Corporation is IICRC certified. We will restore your home or business to pre-loss condition or better.
I've lived it. Michaelis was on the scene at my home before the firefighters had even rolled up their hoses. They asked me about calling a restoration company. I told them I had Michaelis. They told me Michaelis was the real deal. You help with insurance, too?
Yes, we'll work through the insurance process to give you peace of mind.
Water, storms, fire, and mold. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Text or call 844-FIXED-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
At Pella Windows and Doors, we've spent decades helping homeowners replace their windows and doors with products they can trust, installed by local experts. For a limited time, get 22% off Pella products. Visit PellaIndy.com/radio to learn why America's homeowners rate Pella Windows and Doors of Indianapolis #1 most trusted and highest value. Call 833-87-PELLA. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Study of homeowner perceptions of leading national brands. Study commissioned by Pella, 2023.
Start your engine! That's the American spirit at 200 miles per hour. A spectacle of freedom, innovation, and passion. The passion of nearly 500,000 race fans. An American tradition in its 110th edition. The Indianapolis 500, presented by Gamebridge.
Get tickets now at IMS.com.
United, we race.
Here's a tale of Linda trying to lose weight, but the med prices she found were all over the place.
Hidden fees and markups made her jaw drop low. Then she found Good RX. Now she's in the know.
GLP-1 subscriptions FDA approved.
With clear upfront pricing.
And same-day pickup.
That's Good RX, the no-nonsense way. Save time and money on prescriptions.
Get to goodrx.com/weight loss. GoodRx is not insurance.
IMI is hiring CDL Class B drivers for their ready-mix trucks. Receive a great starting wage, outstanding benefits, and a generous retirement plan. Learn more at driveimi.com.
This is Ethan and Jerry on 93 WIBC. And we continue to be disappointed and let down by our government as we approach tax day of 2026, Jerry. This is a story that broke last year, revealing more than 150,000 members of the government, including more than 6,000 IRS employees, are currently delinquent on their taxes. Joni Ernst of Iowa had actually proposed 2 separate bills to address this issue, but since that time, no action, no movement has been taken. I checked on these online. I don't think these bills even made it out of committee. 150,000 federal workers, Jerry, that owe back taxes, some of them working to the IRS.
While most Americans had to write a big fat check to the government today to pay their taxes, over 100,000 federal workers are not paying their taxes. In 2021, the IRS found that almost 150,000 federal workers owe about $1.5 billion in unpaid taxes. Over 5,000 of them work at the IRS and owe $50 million in overdue taxes. Even though the IRS can fire its workers that are not paying their taxes, only 20 people have been terminated. That double standard is something Senator Joni Ernst, Senate Doge Caucus Chair, wants to stop. She's introducing several bills aimed at cleaning up the IRS. One bill would require IRS employees to be audited every year and fired if they don't pay their taxes.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Whether it's billionaire pedophiles running around or tax cheats working for the IRS, it goes to prove that it's not what you know, it's who you know, Jerry.
I mean, how disappointing is this, but not surprising.
No, not surprising in the least that your government truly doesn't give a damn about you. Those 2 bills that Joni Ernst had proposed, one of them, Audit the IRS Act, would require annual audits of IRS employees and the termination of every agent who isn't paying their taxes. Now, that makes good common sense, wouldn't you agree?
I would say that if you're going to hold me accountable, you better be following the rule yourself.
Yeah, if you're going to be enforcing the tax laws, you probably should be following the damn tax laws. This is not too much to ask. The other bill that she proposed, tax delinquencies and overdue debts are government employees' responsibility, otherwise known as the Tax Dodger Act. They love their acronyms. That requires the IRS to annually publish its federal employee tax delinquency report on current and retired federal employees who have delinquent tax debt or who have not fired a tax return.
I love retired employees too. That sucks.
Well, look, it's just good common sense, but neither of these bills even made it out of committee. None of them made it to a floor vote. Nothing happened from this. No accountability. We've been sitting on this information for more than a year after the story broke. It started to be revealed going back to 2021. Nothing has been done.
There's nothing that frustrates me more than tax time. I remember, was it a couple years ago, the day after tax day, we sent Ukraine billions of dollars and Americans are hurting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is fraud effervescing, bubbling forth from every nook and cranny, whether it's federal government or state government. Now, the tip of the iceberg, we revealed billions of dollars of fraud coming out of Minnesota, and now, just like we predicted would happen, liberal states like California, like Illinois, or like New York, now fraud's starting to come out of the woodwork there too, including more than, $196 million of a badly managed Medicaid transportation program that was fraudulently spent because this included rides that were not properly documented, drivers who were not properly licensed, rides that weren't pre-authorized by a medical practitioner, and services which were billed but never happened. This is insane.
While most Americans had to...
From ABC 5.
This is the case involving the 2 men from Philadelphia who heard it was easy to rip off...
I'm sorry. I didn't have sound for that. Drop the ball, Jerry.
No,
It's still early in the morning.
Don't worry about it.
But
this is not the first time we've heard about this, right? This actually came out of Minnesota because Nick Shirley hit the daycares first, and then he went to medical transportation companies.
Yes.
And he found out the Somalis there were running the same gambit over there.
Yes.
So now we're hearing it. It's in New York, and I'm sure we're going to see it in California. You and I worked together when we talked about the 200-something medical facilities out of one office in California for hospice.
Yes. So fraud coming out of New York, and then fraud tourism going to Minnesota. This is the sound clip that I had. Whoops. Two guys from Pennsylvania who made their way down to Minnesota because they had heard that it would be easy to rip off the federal government. Fraud tourism is now a thing. This, according to ABC 5.
This is the case involving the two men from Philadelphia who heard it was easy to rip off taxpayers here in Minnesota. Federal prosecutors have called this case fraud tourism, saying the men traveled here to steal from the now defunct Medicaid program. Today, they traveled back here to face the consequences, and I had the chance to ask them about it. They called it fraud tourism. You want to respond to that, sir? Why Minnesota, Mr. Brown? Anything you want to say to taxpayers here? That's Lester Brown and Anthony Jefferson, both from Philly. They admitted in court today to setting up businesses in the housing stabilization program here in Minnesota. We learned today the men used ChatGPT to draft fake client notes and use them to submit inflated bills for reimbursement. Prosecutors say instead of helping people find stable housing, they stole more than $3.5 million from the program that shut down late last year.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
These are just two guys stole $3.5 million, and I saw you laughing at this. They used ChatGPT to help them commit the fraud, to help them fill out the paperwork, the mountains and volumes of paperwork, just to give the appearance that everything was going on all right.
I just can't help to think about those stupid Somali pirates that could have just came here and got so much more money.
And not have to risk their lives sailing the high seas. Like it's hard work to try and bring down an oil tanker when you could have just moved to Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm the captain now. Sure, I run this daycare.
93 WIBC, Ethan and Jerry filling in. And we have Jarrett Lewis coming up next with WIBC News. Stay tuned.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Failing to fund DHS. A clear radar over downtown Indianapolis. It's 29. Today's high could reach 52. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 9:30. Brought to you by Window Nation. The Senate failing to pass funding legislation for the Department of Homeland Security this week, increasing the threat of another partial shutdown of the government. Senate Democrats reiterating they would not support any funding for DHS without a list of their own demands, such as a requirement for federal officers to obtain judicial search warrants before conducting searches and barring agents from wearing masks. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, however, tells Fox and Friends that Democrats are only playing politics and that DHS and its workers and agents will be hurting because of it.
These are American workers who went 43 days without a paycheck in the last shutdown because Chuck Schumer and Democrats wanted to play partisan politics with Democrat funding. It's unacceptable to President Trump and the White House. We've made every good faith effort to try to keep the government open.
The legislation failed to receive the necessary 60 votes to advance, only getting 52. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump visiting Fort Bragg today to meet with military families, as well as the Special Forces members involved in the capture of Nicolas Maduro.
Today, the president is going to meet with some of the special operators who took Maduro out of Venezuela. The next big thing to come out of Venezuela will be oil. The president has got the highest ranking administration official in Venezuela since Maduro was taken out, Christopher Wright, the energy secretary. And that has got the president now saying this: relations between Venezuela and the United States have been, to put it mildly, extraordinary. We're dealing very well with President Delcy Rodriguez and her representatives. Oil is starting to flow, and large amounts of money unseen for many years will soon be greatly helping the people of Venezuela.
That's Fox's Peter Ducey. Meanwhile, the president pardoning 5 former NFL players this week. They are Joe Klecko, Nate Newton, Jamal Lewis, Travis Henry, and the late Billy Cannon. Your opening bill report on 93 WIBC brought to you by Absolute Wealth Management. The Dow is down 22 points, 49,450. The S&P 500 also down 3 points, 6,832. And the NASDAQ is in the red 36 points to 24,687. I'm Jarrett Lewis on The Level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait, and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Get great deals this weekend at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show this Saturday and Sunday at Stout Field in Indianapolis. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Admission is just $6 for adults, and kids 12 and under get in free. Attendees must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. This Saturday 9 to 5 and Sunday 9 to 3. Get directions and see upcoming events and more at CentralIndianaGunShows.com. That's CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
At the IHSAA, we're proud to have partners who share our vision of building a strong Indiana. I'm Commissioner Paul Neidig.
And I'm Rafael Sanchez, Chief Impact Officer of Old National Bank, founded and headquartered in Evansville, Indiana. We couldn't be prouder of our Hoosier heritage.
And Hoosiers couldn't love high school sports more.
That's why it's important to us as a Hoosier bank to invest in high school sports. We offer financial literacy programs that help student athletes make educated financial decisions once their playing days are over.
The association is committed to keeping high school sports focused on education first. The life lessons we teach help student athletes develop both in the game and in life.
And that's a win for every Hoosier.
Thanks to partners like Old National Bank, the future of Indiana looks strong.
Support education-based athletics by buying a ticket to your high school's athletic events.
This is investing in our future.
This is building up Indiana.
This is your IHSAA.
Good morning, Indianapolis. This is Ethan and Jerry on 93 WIBC, and producer Kev in the producer's fishbowl, beep, 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 pushing those buttons, doing the things, and making fine music selections. Very topical choice, playing some classic Nirvana for this segment, considering we are coming up on the 32nd anniversary, Jerry, of Kurt Cobain's supposed suicide. That was on April 8th. 1994. I say supposed suicide, Jerry, because we might be getting some more developments on this very old case and speculation surrounding the cause and the circumstances of his death that have been going on for a very, very long time. I was 2 when this happened, so I don't remember it well. Do you remember this story a little better than I do?
Let me ask you a question. Do you think a 12-year-old child of Cuban immigrants even knew who the hell Kurt Cobain was? I had no idea who he was until I got a little bit older. My first duty station was actually Fort Lewis, Washington, which is just outside of Seattle. And I know this was a huge thing when I was there. People talked about it. But as far as I know, he killed himself. I didn't know anything else other than that.
Okay, well, for a long time, people have speculated and conspiracies have been swirling. It was the ex. It was the jilted lover. It was Courtney Love.
I did hear that.
Who was responsible for this. Now, I wasn't a huge Nirvana fan, especially not when I was 2 years old. But even so, this is a story that I've been familiar with for a while now. And now it's being speculated, according to a new paper that was published, a peer-reviewed paper, that Kurt Cobain's death was a homicide, according to new private forensic filings that question the suicide ruling. This is a joint effort between a private sector team of investigators, including Brian Burnett, a specialist who previously worked on cases including overdoses and gunshot trauma, and an independent researcher by the name of Michelle Wilkins. According to Burnett, he said, "This is a homicide. We got to do something about this." And according to the evidence that they released in this paper, It really does call into question some of the findings by the medical examiner, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm just looking down here on this rundown. Just like I said, I don't know much about this story. All I knew is that all I was ever told is he killed himself.
Yeah.
But right here,
I mean, in fairness, that's the official story. That's what the medical investigator in Seattle, Washington had concluded, had released to everybody, that this was a self-inflicted gunshot wound after he had overdosed on heroin. So he's high on heroin. He's already, the themes and the content of Nirvana already somewhat disturbed. Yep. There's a suicide note right there. It all comes together, so therefore it's a suicide.
Yeah, but here it says the peer-reviewed paper presented 10 points of evidence suggesting Cobain was confronted by more than one assailant who forced a heroin overdose to incapacitate him before one of them shot him in the head, placed the gun in his arms, and left behind a forged suicide note. Now, how would you put that together, honestly asking?
Well, I mean, he had enough heroin in his system, even according to medical results at the time, to take down and tranquilize a horse.
And an addict would have known better than to do all that.
Well, not only that, but if you're, basically comatose on smack,
shoot yourself? Yeah.
It's kind of hard to wield a shotgun. It is very difficult and awkward to position that.
They can barely stand up.
He couldn't stand up. He was comatose on smack.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
you're not going to shoot yourself.
Right. And that was called into question.
Now that seems obvious. So why is it taking so long then?
Well, maybe
you just convinced me in 10 seconds.
It's even more evidence than that, though. Like, for example, the positioning of his hand. If he was holding the shotgun, then you would expect splatter.
Sure, yeah.
A little bit of
in a certain direction.
Yeah, it was splatter in a direction, and also evidence coming back on your hands. But the left hand that was allegedly gripping the shotgun closest to his head didn't have any blood on it. Also, the T-shirt. The positioning of blood splatter on the T-shirt was closer to the lower portion, which is consistent with the body having been moved after the fact, because most of that splatter, most of the stain, most of the soilage is going to be happening close to the point of impact unless you're being moved after the fact. And again, this isn't conclusive evidence, although it sure seems that way. This is just speculation from the private investigative team. But look, even years after the fact, justice should be served if a crime was committed. And look, we might not be holding billionaire pedophiles and the government to account, but we can hold murderers to account 32 years after the fact. Justice must be served, and if there's enough evidence to merit a second look, then shouldn't we be looking?
I mean, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
And again, rumors surrounding this and accusations surrounding this have been swirling for decades, including by the punk rock drummer and lead singer of the alternative band The Mentors, a guy by the name of Eldon Hoke, otherwise known as El Duce. He said 30 years ago that Courtney Love paid him or offered him $50,000 to take out Kurt Cobain.
But you did some deal with Courtney, right?
Yeah, she offered me 50 grand to whack Kurt Cobain.
She what?
50 grand to whack Kurt Cobain.
And that's a fact, is it? But people might think you're not the most reliable witness.
Well, that's too bad. You may not be the reliable witness your own self. Now think about that one.
Yeah.
When she offered me money, God dang, I wish I would have taken it, man. But I know who whacked him.
But how were you going to whack him? Did she tell you how to do it?
Yeah, blow his head off.
So where were you going to find him to do it?
Well, up there, and she gave, mapped it out. I mean, up there in Bellevue, wherever they live, right outside Seattle. I know right where the house is. I know right what garden to pop him in. I just didn't think she was serious.
But did she tell you how she wanted you to pop him?
Yeah, she says blow his head off. I got the shotgun.
Curiouser and curiouser.
Now, it should be noted, again, these claims by El Duce were never substantiated, and a week after filming this, he had a separation between his head and his body on a pair of railroad tracks. He died a week after this interview.
Yeah, that's no coincidence.
Well, one might suspect that that's not entirely coincidental, considering the nature of one death and then another quickly following, revelations like this, perhaps it's a conspiracy. Going back to the what?
Did he know Hillary Clinton by chance?
Yeah. Hillary's in on this too. Going back to the investigators, the blood at the bottom of the shirt, they said the only way that blood could get on the shirt is if Kurt was lifted and his head was down. Going again to crime scene analysis, Brian Burnett, decades of experience analyzing crime scenes and interpreting complex evidence. He earned national recognition for his expert analysis in controversial cases like the Marine Colonel James Sabo's death and the investigation into Billy Joe Johnson Jr., where his meticulous forensic reconstructions challenged official findings. Forensic paper underwent peer review through the editorial process in the International Journal of Forensic Science before being accepted for publication. So these are what you would describe as extremely knowledgeable individuals. And when you connect old interviews like that with El Duce, it would seem to connect the dots in a very damning direction, would it not?
But as of now, the investigation has not been reopened. They're just saying it should be.
Nope. It's not been. It's not been reopened. No official conclusions have been made. But based off of the speculation by these extremely knowledgeable individuals, experts in their field, and rumors, speculation, conspiracy that's been swirling for years, it would seem to justify.
So it sounds like we started the show, the first two segments, the exact same way. Obvious investigations, but big nothing burgers.
Yeah. Well, that's
Epstein, Kurt Cobain, lots of evidence, but there's not much that we're going to do about it.
Although I will say that out of everything, it is much more likely that the Kurt Cobain investigation will be reopened and accountability found than anything ever coming from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, especially when you got the Attorney General Pam Bondi dodging questions, throwing around accusations, and refusing to answer why the Department of Justice hasn't moved forward. There's lots of disappointment, but the public at least is getting more information now. And as far as cause, as far as motives that have been speculated why the Courtney Love may do this, it all comes down to money. There were rumors that Kurt and Courtney were going to be divorced and in a prenuptial agreement before their marriage that would divest her of any inheritance, any profit from Nirvana. And by this death, she profited greatly from financial control and management and continued profits of the estate.
So she went on to get everything that was his because it was ruled a suicide.
Yep.
Well, I just thought that he was stationed out in Seattle, man. I think when I was out there, it was the suicide capital of the country. It's so gloomy every single day.
Yeah.
The birthplace of grunge for a reason.
Well, you bring up an excellent point. Because of this alleged suicide, for years, going on, again, 32 years after this death, there have been copycat suicides. People who have said, well, if that's the way Kurt Cobain wanted to go out, then that's the way I'm going to choose to go out too. So, we can bring closure to families and stop the hemorrhaging if this investigation is reopened and more revelations are made about the true cause and manner of his death. And let's hope that we get that kind of closure.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. Ethan Hatcher and Jerry Lopez filling in. Coming up next, one man's enormous time-consuming obsession, a hobby, is now getting some payoff as his work of art, his phenomenal monument, is now getting its time in the sun in a New York museum. We'll give you more details about that coming up next. Stay tuned.
It's Terry Stacy, and thousands of people start the year with good intentions of losing weight and getting in shape by spring. For over 22 years, Exercise Inc. has helped Hoosiers build muscle and lose weight and transform their health, which means creating lifelong habits rather than a resolution most of us don't keep. Exercise Inc. works, and the best part about it, it only takes 20 minutes once a week. Their unique training method was developed in an osteoporosis research study to help prevent bone mineral loss in older women. The women in the study got very strong in a short amount of time. When the method is applied to normal, healthy adults, both men and women get a lot stronger. Their Simple 9 nutritional program has helped their clients lose over 40,000 pounds since 2013. They've also seen their clients lower blood pressure, improve blood sugar, and get off prescription meds. Get started right now. Avon, Brownsburg, Fishers, Greenwood, and Zionsville. Change your life in 20 minutes once a week. Go to exerciseinc.com to request a free consultation.
Hammer and Nigel Show. It's our big Valentine's Day extravaganza. Love is in the air, and Allison's going to take us all to HR by the end of the afternoon.
Furnace on the fritz? Call Howald Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. Get an honest assessment on your current furnace or a great deal on a new one. Howald Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing, where coming home never felt so good.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, you may be in big trouble with Chip Wood.
Our owner?
Free oil changes along with alignment?
On any 4-tire purchase.
And Michelin's up to $100 off?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike, but I'm telling.
But the Wood family is behind all this.
Oh, those rascals.
But don't tell the accountants.
Of course not. And what do they do again?
Buy any set of 4 tires at Tire Discounters and get a free alignment and oil change. Make them Michelin's and save up to $100 more. See store for details.
In a divided world, music remains our most powerful bridge, an art form that shows us again and again that we belong to one another. Music is the one language the world already shares. It crosses borders, dissolves fear, and reminds us of our common heartbeat. In every culture, in every generation, people turn to music to celebrate, to mourn, to heal, and to hope. It gathers strangers in community and transforms audiences into one collective breath. The Denise Graves Foundation stands where history, artistry, and humanity meet, illuminating untold stories, empowering future legends, and building a world where talent rises because of potential. The world is full of brilliance. We're here to make sure it is never hidden.
Hi, this is Chris Cox, owner of Chimney Solutions Indiana. We're celebrating our 10th year in business. Call this month to take advantage of 10% off all chimney sweeps and inspections. We're also celebrating the opening of our new fireplace showroom on 86th Street and Lafayette Road. Come and experience our exclusive lines of wood-burning and gas fireplaces.
Call 317-757-6979 or chimneyindy.com.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Don't miss the Dancing Worlds Tour, the greatest hits from John Mellencamp, July 18th at Ruoff Music Center. A night packed with the songs you love and the stories behind them. Ticket info on WIBC.com. Get yours before they're gone.
Welcome back to 93 WIBC. This is Ethan Hatcher and Jerry Lopez filling in. Jerry, what is the wildest, most obsessive hobby that you've got?
Man, I don't have too many. When I was a kid, I was a big card collector, like most people my age, yeah. So I still have a lot of cards, but I don't really have an extreme hobby.
Well, there is a huge card collecting rabbit hole. You want to talk about obsessive collectors. There are some people who have stacks and piles.
Oh, it's become a thing now. Yeah,
yeah.
It's a huge deal. When I was a kid, it was just like sitting on the porch with your buddies and trading your Jose Canseco for Darryl Strawberry and things like that.
Well, I feel like it used to be a lot of sports cards, and now it's the Pokemon cards and the Magic the Gathering cards.
And those are going for a lot or some of those.
Yeah, there's nothing to sneer about that.
Logan Paul wore that the Pokemon cards, like over $1 million card he had on.
Yeah, or the Magic the Gathering, the One Ring card worth millions of dollars.
That's crazy to me.
So, I mean, there are obsessive hobbies, but then there are also artistic hobbies. And I really relate to this guy, a truck driver in New York by the name of Joe Mackin. He has a building hobby, one that he's been pursuing going on more than a decade now, where he has a one-to-one reconstruction of Manhattan made out of hand-carved balsa wood. This is a report from Steve Hartman on the road.
In the spring of 2004, a truck driver named Joe Mackin descended his basement stairs in Clifton Park, New York, with a simple idea: to see if he could build something cool out of balsa wood.
Just to build one building. That was my goal.
He decided on a miniature replica of the RCA building in New York City's Rockefeller Center.
And that was going to be it? That was it. And then the next day, I built another one.
Built another one?
And then I built another one.
Was there at some point in this whole process where you ever thought to yourself, I've gone too far?
Never.
Not even after he built all of Rockefeller Center. Not even after he built all of Midtown. Not even after he built all of Manhattan. Eventually, Joe urban sprawled his way to this storage facility.
Oh my.
Each one of those squares represents about 1 square mile of New York City. And for more than 2 decades now, they have just been piling up.
And what were you going to do with this? I was just going to look at it. I don't know what I was going to do. I had no plans. I mean, I never imagined it being in a museum.
And yet, here we are.
For the first time, Joe's Little Apple is going on display in the Big Apple, here at the Museum of the City of New York.
The exhibit includes all 5 boroughs, every site and stadium, every bridge and building. Almost 1 million structures, all carved by that one man.
But the most amazing statistic is you're still married to the same woman. Yes.
Yes. How do you explain that?
I don't know. It's a miracle.
That's a good word for it.
Joe says Trish has been remarkably understanding, at least so far.
I'll just keep going. I'll build all of New York State if I have to. It'll never be finished, ever.
Joe Mackin didn't set out to create a masterpiece, and yet here a masterpiece lies before him. Because greatness is really nothing more than 1 million tiny steps, and occasionally a spouse to at least tolerate the journey.
Man, there is so much to love about this story. The dedication and the artistry of this one man, it's all getting paid off now. It's a huge model. I mean, many dozens of squares that he's built over the ensuing 2 decades, and now going to the Museum of the Big Apple. If you find yourself in New York, I'd definitely be checking this out. That's so cool. And I relate to this, well, one, because of my day job during the week, I like to restore and renovate and rent buildings here in Indianapolis, but then also in my spare time, one of my hobbies, I enjoy recreating buildings in Minecraft, digital Lego box. I've been working my way block by block through some buildings in downtown Pittsburgh. I've got the Citizens Bank building, the Omni William Penn building, the Frick building, the Allegheny apartment building, the Allegheny County Courthouse, the City Hall, other structures. So, I relate to this guy's fastidiousness, attention to detail, and obsession with architecture. I just think that is hella cool.
Yeah, for a fact, I will be Googling this during the commercial break because I definitely want to see what this looks like. I would love to see it in person. Also, did he use Google Images to find all these buildings? And how awesome would it be to see your office park? A little building that this guy made. That'd be pretty awesome.
I totally can believe that he used Google Earth. It's a wonderful tool. It's a tool that I use. And yeah, you can see an overview of your city to get it recreated in perfect detail. Thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ethan and Jerry filling in on 93 WIBC. Stay tuned. We got 2 hours to go.
Your heat seems to be running a lot more than it should. You might be surprised to learn it's because the insulation in your windows has failed. Talk to the pros at Window Nation and get new windows with big savings during Window Nation's Buy 4 Windows, Get 4 free sale. Plus, you could get them 0 down, 0 monthly payments, and 0 interest for 2 years. If you act now, you'll get an extra 10% off. When your window insulation fails, usually due to old or cheap materials, all of your window energy efficiency disappears. The results? A house that is cold in the winter and hot in the summer.
Window Nation's windows use top quality materials and seals along with insulated frames. They're so incredibly energy efficient that you'll actually save money on your utility bills. And they're backed with a lifetime warranty, so you don't have to live with broken windows anymore. Don't wait. Put an end to your window problems. Take advantage of Window Nation's Buy 4 Windows, Get 4 for free sale. And get an extra 10% off. Visit windownation.com for a free consultation.
Still looking for the perfect gift this Valentine's Day? Say it from the heart with a little help from Cynthia's Hallmark. Gifts for all ages, all budgets, starting with kids. They will love the glow-in-the-dark Valentine blankets that magically light up in the night. Cynthia's also carries beautiful jewelry and Innis Fragrance of the Sea. It's a customer favorite, and the Voyager gift set is just $39.99. Cynthia's has a great selection of the most silky, soft, luxurious lounge pants and shirts, plus beautiful lingerie chemise and robe sets, just $24.98. Express your love with Willow Tree Angels, especially the suite surrounded by love design. And I think Valentine's Day cards are still pretty special. And for a little extra wow, send a fresh cut paper pop-up card that bursts with beautiful flowers that will last. It's a perfect surprise for someone away at college, in the hospital, or far from home. For the chocolate lovers, Cynthia's carries Fannie Mae and South Bend chocolates. Shop locally owned Cynthia's Hallmark this Valentine's Day. 116th in Allisonville, 116th in Brooks School Road, 96th in Lantern Road, and in Greenfield.
At Pella Windows and Doors, we've spent decades helping homeowners replace their windows and doors with products they can trust, installed by local experts. For a limited time, get 22% off Pella products. Visit PellaIndy.com/radio to learn why America's homeowners rate Pella Windows and Doors of Indianapolis #1 most trusted and highest value. Call 833-87-PELLA. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Study of homeowner perceptions of leading national brands. Study commissioned by Pella, 2023.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
And 2 minutes from the Dugan Air Heating and Cooling Mitsubishi Electric Studios, how a new bill in the State House is addressing cooperation between local agencies and federal immigration agents. A celebration of life for Fisher's teenager Haley Busby on Thursday. How a man in Frankfurt injured a police officer, and what the NBA is finding the Pacers over. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 10 o'clock.
It's arraignment day in Minnesota. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. For 5 people accused of staging an anti-ICE protest inside a church.
Well, last month, agitators shouted at churchgoers there in the middle of services. Protesters targeted this church because one of the pastors works for ICE.
Fox's Brooke Taylor in Minneapolis says 3 of those to be arraigned were protest ringleaders facing federal charges, including conspiracy to deprive rights.
Former CNN anchor Don Lemon, who was live streaming, is also going to be arraigned today. He said he was covering this as a journalist, but prosecutors say he knowingly joined the mob.
Yeah, the arraignments come the day after the Trump administration announced an end to the enhanced ICE operation in Minnesota. Democratic Governor Tim Walz says
they left us with deep damage, generational trauma. They left us with economic ruin in some cases.
Democrats demand immigration enforcement reform, and without it, they've blocked new funding for Homeland Security, which means workers at FEMA or TSA Airport Security won't get paid starting tomorrow. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt tells Fox.
These are American workers who went 43 days without a paycheck in the last shutdown because Chuck Schumer and Democrats wanted to play partisan politics.
ICE operations will continue with funding already provided by Republicans in the Big Beautiful Bill. It's day 13 of searching for Nancy Guthrie, with more details of the masked man seen on video outside the 84-year-old's home when she was kidnapped.
That new suspect description and an alert that was sent to the surrounding area could help narrow this search even more. The FBI describing him as approximately 5'9", 5'10", with an average build. Forensic analysis on this door cam video from Nancy Guthrie's home was critical to helping investigators begin to close in on a description.
Fox's Alicia Cunha in Tucson, Arizona. Inflation was tamer in January. The 0.2% monthly increase in the consumer price index was less than December. So was the annual inflation rate, down 0.3 to 2.4%. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
It's asking for cooperation. A sunny sky, 35 in downtown Indy, could get up to 52 for the high today. I'm Jarrett Lewis. It's now 10:02. Indiana lawmakers pushing ahead with a plan to tighten how local agencies work with federal immigration authorities.
We want to put our local enforcement people, our school teachers,
our hospital workers, okay, under the control of and compelled to comply with the orders of people who can't even show their face.
That's Democratic State Rep Ed Delaney. On Thursday, people outside the House chamber voiced their opposition to the bill. The House made changes to it, so it now goes back to the Senate. If they approve the changes, it will move on to the governor. Fishers teenager Haley Busby's life honored Thursday evening at I-Town Church in Fishers. Mayor Scott Fadness spoke at Haley's Celebration of Life service, saying that the pink lights glowing across central Indiana are a tribute to a girl who chose love over fear.
That is what's driving this community to not fear and anger and apprehension, but to lighting up the skies pink at night. The mayor of Elwood saying we're with you, and the city hall was lit up. The town of Brownsburg is lit up pink. Hamilton County's courthouse is lit up for who Haley was.
That same spirit also on display at the Kitchen on Main in Fortville, where Haley worked. Her father and uncle also shared some memories about Haley at the service. The state says there were 59 child deaths reported in 2024 due to abuse or neglect. Nicole Probst of Prevent Child Abuse Indiana shares some more statistics.
Another really unfortunate thing is that 71% roughly of the children who were victims were under the age of 3 or 3 years of age.
Prevent Child Abuse Indiana is empowering communities to support families before a crisis happens. If you suspect abuse or neglect, you can call 1-800-800-5556. Police say a man in Frankfort ended up biting a police officer at a Walmart. Investigators believe the 22-year-old man named Eddie Fernando Gonzalez Hernandez went to the Frankfort Walmart to meet an underage girl Wednesday night. When he got there, he encountered a decoy with 2 officers who tried to arrest him. That's when police say Gonzalez Hernandez ended up biting one of the officers on the arm. He was then tased and pepper sprayed and taken to jail. And the Indiana Pacers are being fined by the NBA. John Herrick explains why.
The NBA on Thursday fined the Indiana Pacers and the Utah Jazz for the management of their rosters for recent games. The Pacers were fined $100,000 for violating what they call the player participation policy over the team's game against the Jazz at Gainbridge Fieldhouse February 3rd. The NBA says Pascal Siakam is a star player under their policy, and 2 other Pacers starters, neither of whom participated in the game, could have played under the medical standard in the policy, including by playing reduced minutes. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The NBA is on its all-star break. The Pacers resume regular season play February 19th. I'm Jarrett Lewis on The Level on the Go and on WIBC.com.
Staying connected shouldn't be a struggle, but for many Hoosiers who are deaf, hard of hearing, deafblind, or have a speech disability, everyday phone calls can be frustrating. That's where Relay Indiana comes in. Relay Indiana is a free statewide service that helps people communicate over the phone by connecting callers through specially trained relay operators. They make sure conversations between specialized devices and standard phones are clear, accurate, and respectful. Relay Indiana also offers relay conference captioning, providing real-time captions for meetings, webinars, and conference calls, so you never miss a word. Whether it's work, family, or everyday life, communication matters. Learn more at RelayIndiana.com. That's RelayIndiana.com. And stay connected.
Good morning, Indianapolis. This is Ethan Hatcher and Jerry Lopez on 93 WIBC. Thanks for listening. If you've missed a moment of the show, including a fire first hour, might I say, Jerry, you can catch the podcast uploaded to WIBC.com, and I believe in a few other podcasting platforms as well, but that's the main one. So if you want to listen to the replay, you can do it after the show. You can listen to it when Tony Katz goes on the air, but stay right here while we are doing our broadcast. And starting this hour talking about the SAVE Act, Jerry, the Save America Act, which was passed by the House on Wednesday that would overhaul elections in America, requiring citizens to verify their citizenship before registering. It only passed by a slim margin, and this does not bode well as it heads to the Senate. It passed by 218 to 213 vote, and only one single Democrat representative, Henry Kuehler of Texas, voted for it, down from the 4 who backed the earlier effort. Again, talking about issues that should unite the country. This seems like a pretty easy ask, does it not, to make sure that everybody who is voting in the election should be voting, has the right to vote in the election?
I mean, it seems obvious to me. The part that upsets me the most is the reason that Democrats give for not voting for it. They just have the most racial undertones. Just black and brown people are too poor and too stupid to go to the BMV and get IDs.
Well, I think they've moved off just a little bit from the racial angle, and instead they're moving on the sexual angle, saying that, it's women, it's married women who are too stupid to be able to prove that they changed their name, even though that's what marriage licenses are for. And if you have to go to, you should most of the time. I believe you're required by law to go down to the BMV to make a change of license when you've updated your identity and changed your name. And if you've gone to the BMV and you got your real ID, guess what, Jerry? The real ID proves your citizenship. It's one of the documents that you can give to verify your authenticity in the SAVE Act. Seems pretty simple again.
Yeah, it's the most absurd thing in this country. I think I posted something on my ex at Indy Spangles where Somalia is now rolling out voter ID. Somalia.
So those black people evidently know how to get IDs to participate in the election, but then apparently
we can't figure it out. According to the governor of California or of New York, Hochul, we don't even know how to use computers.
And that's the most important part. It's really only to Democrats because this is an issue that has, as far as the public is concerned, broad bipartisan support. A majority of Democrats support it. A majority of Republicans support it. The majority of all primary racial demographics support it. This reported by CNN.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country.
You're damn right.
It's only controversial to Democrats because Democrats have the most to lose, stand the most to lose by elections with increased transparency.
Yeah, and this is one of the problems looking back from previous elections that still does not make me look good or make me feel good about future elections, right? So we have not fixed the ballot harvesting issue in this country. We have not fixed the mail-in ballot system in this country. And now we can't even get on board for photo identification in this country. How can you have safe and secure and honest elections without those three things?
Well, and you have some wascally Republicans that are stepping in and standing up against the SAVE Act, including Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who poured cold water on the celebratory mood this week because she said even before the House voted on Wednesday that she would oppose it in the Senate, lambasting the bill as federal overreach. Somehow it is federal overreach to ensure the authenticity of participants in the election. And going back to what you said about mail-in ballots and about election fraud, this isn't a new issue. This isn't something that just got invented recently. This goes back to the 1980s, and one of those wascally senators who are standing up, Republicans specifically, standing up against the Save America Act include Mitch McConnell. But in 1987, he talked about the rampant election fraud that was going on, including the abuse of mail-in ballots. Take a listen to this.
And I suspect on this election day, as on many election days over the last 100 years or so, in some areas of my state, people are attempting to buy votes, sell votes, intimidate voters, and in general, distort the election process. Earlier in my life, I taught on a part-time basis a course called American Political Parties and Elections. And we talked about, with the students, the election fraud problems in some areas of this country. It is clearly not a problem everywhere, but in certain areas of our country, particularly rural one-party areas in the South, and in certain big cities in the Midwest and in the North, places where one party tends to dominate, this is an ongoing problem. It's a problem that has persisted in my state. I can recall in 1981, Mr. President, when I was running for re-election for a local office, polls showed me in a certain area of my community with 40% support, and on election day it ended up being 17%. And I wondered what happened between the Friday before the election and the Tuesday of the election that made that much support just evaporate like that. And then in 1984, Mr. President, when I ran for the United States Senate, I recall being up literally all night constructing sending telegrams, trying to get the cooperation of federal prosecutors to encourage people not to steal the election. The Courier-Journal, a statewide newspaper in my state, recently did an excellent one-week series on this problem in our state. It had people talking on the record about the participation in the selling of votes, the buying of votes, the distortion of the election process. A lot of the election fraud that occurs in my state, and I suspect in many others, involves the use of absentee ballots. It's not enough to have a post-election remedy. We have an occasional prosecution and an occasional conviction in my state for these kinds of election day shenanigans. But what the candidates and the public would like to see is an honest election between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club, Turtle? Turtle.
So what changed for the turtle between 1987 and then 2026? Because he elucidated with great clarity that election fraud was happening and mail-in ballots were being abused.
So I don't know if you're very familiar with Mitch McConnell, but he gets iOS updates randomly during speeches and will just freeze and reboot for no reason. So it's kind of wild to me that this guy's health has been an issue for some time. He's fallen multiple times. He's on the Joe Biden calisthenics program, right? He freezes for no reason. People are and he said, you know what, it's so bad he's not going to run again, but he's going to be there through January 2027.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. He's stepping down at the end of 2026, so he's only got a relatively short amount of time in power left. And currently, Representative Andy Barr who is running for the Senate seat that he will vacate, is urging him to drop his opposition and help the SAVE Act reach the president's desk. But the reason why
he's another trans Republican. Right?
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell, Mitt Romney, Eric Holcomb, trans Republican. Identify as Republican, but you're really a Democrat.
Well, it goes down to, this personality conflict that they get with the president. And instead of doing what's right for the country, they're doing what's right to appease their own emotional turmoil, their own emotional conflicts. And that's not what we want out of our representatives. It's got broad bipartisan support, and until you clean up the elections, there's always going to be this lingering question about its authenticity until you resolve these issues. And nobody should pretend that Democrats aren't invested in ensuring that non-citizens can participate, even if it's not technically allowed, because New York Democrats actually put up a bill that would allow non-citizens to vote in their elections, and it had to be smacked down by the court. This according to Representative Claudia Tenney.
New York City Democrats actually put up a bill to allow non-citizens to vote in their elections. Our far left-leaning, and I think you could argue that very easily, Court of Appeals, New York highest court, actually turned that down and said, no, only citizens can vote in our elections. That's New York state law, and that's our national law. And I just want to make sure that was your response to Mr. Burchett, to make sure you understood that we've addressed this in New York, and we have established that only citizens can vote. And we want to make sure we secure the ballot and know that citizenship in this country has value.
Wow, that is delicious. Finally.
That's all we want. We're not wanting to remove or limit people's participation to vote. We are wanting to enshrine and save citizens' right to vote in the election. We are wanting to protect their rights and their rights to be heard and authentically represented in the government. That's all we want.
Yeah, but while we're doing that in San Francisco in 2024, and I looked this up because I brought this up one day when I was doing Tony Kinnetcast, San Francisco actually appointed a first non-citizen to serve on Elections Commission.
Jeez.
Non-citizen on the Elections Commission in San Francisco.
Well,
this is 2 years ago.
That's almost as dirty as 6,000 IRS workers that owe back taxes.
I mean, in what world does that make sense?
It doesn't. And so Democrats are desperately trying to discredit the support for the SAVE Act, and they're trying to lean on claims of racism, claims of sexism, like Representative Delia Ramirez, who says that the SAVE Act is designed to disenfranchise minorities, which is just patently
smack in the face, dude. It's a smack in the face to all minorities.
Yeah, it's patently untrue.
Look, as I hear my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, what I hear is the same racist, misogynistic trash, different decade. Republicans are invoking historical policies intended, let's be clear, to disenfranchise Americans, especially working people, women, students, indigenous people, and anyone who can't afford the burdens of a new bill. The Save America Act is yet another Republican attempt to intimidate and suppress the votes of anyone who threatens their extremist white supremacist agenda.
Do you have any evidence at all?
Well, Your Honor, we've got plenty of hearsay and conjecture. Those are kinds of evidence.
And Jerry, I feel like you can speak to this issue with a little greater clarity than I can. You have your minority status card, right?
Yeah, listen, I'm close enough. I'm close enough. Yeah, I'm allowed.
So would you feel disenfranchised by verifying the authenticity in your citizenship in order to participate in the sacred election process?
I honestly, when you are part of a minority group and you only make up 17% of the population, 16% of the population, your vote can be taken away very quickly if we let non-citizens vote.
Yeah.
Your vote is more at risk than anybody else's. So by Republicans wanting ID, you're saving that vote.
Yeah.
You're saving that vote. You're not helping white people. You're helping minorities.
You're safeguarding minority votes by not diluting it with non-citizens. That's pretty simple to me.
Pretty
Seems
easy,
like
right?
it.
But you want me to they're preying on the white guilt, right?
Sure.
Oh, it's wrong, and it's a smack in the face to minorities everywhere. You lower the bar so much that there is no bar.
And Democrats know it's untrue. CNN descended into chaos when Scott Jennings asked a very simple question: How would the SAVE Act disenfranchise minorities? And they couldn't answer the question. They just had to call it racist, had to call it sexist, and the entire segment turned into chaos with him arguing with Alicia Johnson.
What voting rights is he taking away from black voters?
Oh, if we look at the SAVE Act? The SAVE Act, that's exactly what we're talking about. That is actually going to continue to disenfranchise overwhelmingly a lot of people of color. There are so many civil rights organizations that have run the data. If we look at the way that it is going to disenfranchise black voters, it's the same reason why Chuck Schumer called it Jim Crow 2.0. So, this is the same president. If we want to continue,
you haven't said how yet.
I am talking about it. It's the way that you're putting new poll taxes on this. When you're making people have, that's what we can call them now. It's kind of an idiom, right?
It's an idiom.
If you want to say that people have to prove that they are citizens, that they have to prove with a voter ID. The reality is you're layering what is a constitutional right for the American people and making it harder for people to vote in this country, and it's going to disenfranchise black voters.
Concern you that you're making all these claims? You've yet to lay out how it's hurting anyone, but 76% of black voters think we should show an ID to vote, 80% of Hispanic voters, 83% of the American people. Are you saying that black voters are too dumb to know what's good for them? I mean, it sounds pretty condescending to me.
And to clarify, you will speak when spoken to.
No, I think I speak when I want. It's a free country, Jack.
I mean, they wanted him to shut up so bad, but all he was asking is a very simple question and pointing out simple facts that even CNN polls revealed that this has broad bipartisan support and broad support across all racial demographics in the United States. The only people who don't support this are Democrats who stand to benefit by dishonesty.
And listen, there's two things I know for sure when it comes to Democrats, right? They have no incentive to help you out of your situation whatsoever. As a matter of fact, their power grows the worse you do.
Yeah, no.
That's number one. Number two is the number one issue affecting people of color, minorities, is lack of opportunity. Lack of opportunity comes from lack of education. Lack of education comes from failing public schools. So if Democrats want to help minorities, wouldn't they be for school choice?
Yeah. Yeah, and if Democrats want to help minorities, then they would also safeguard their vote from being diluted by outside interference, by interference and influence from non-citizens.
And you're getting minorities that are going more and more right. You know, that's a big issue for Dems, right? You're getting the younger crowd, which used to typically be liberal. You have the Charlie Kirk movement. Now you have, my son's a staunch conservative and has a lot of staunch conservative friends that are like 20, 21, 22. That was never the case before.
But you got these Democrats, racist Democrats, that want to keep minorities on the government plantation.
Yep.
That's the problem. Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. Ethan and Jerry filling in. Stay tuned.
Home for the best variety of the 20s.
We're in the 20s, which I'm pretty sure is malt liquor weather.
30s.
As long as the sun's shining, I'll take it.
And 40s.
I'm always one day behind the weather.
Temperatures are sticking around the 40s, just like where Democrats keep their statewide vote totals.
The best variety of Midwest weather.
I mean, it's 50 degrees right now, but tomorrow we will be freezing our butts off.
Follow Indiana's best variety.
It was in the upper 40s yesterday.
We're lucky to hit 20 today. Are you kidding?
On 93 WIBC.
Transform your home with Galaxy Concrete Coatings. You can say goodbye to cracked, stained, and dirty old floors and hello to durable, stunning surfaces that last. Their cutting-edge technology ensures a beautiful finish every time, and you get to pick out the color. Upgrade your home today by calling Galaxy Concrete Coatings. They're for garage floors, driveways, pool decks, and patios. And they come with a lifetime warranty and one-day professional installation. The phone number, 877-417-0635. You can find them online, too. GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com.
Attention, Class B CDL drivers. Are you looking to work for a company that provides you with a great starting wage, outstanding benefits, and a generous retirement plan? Irving Materials Incorporated is currently hiring ready-mix truck drivers. If you are a CDL Class B driver, visit driveimi.com today to learn about the job opportunities at IMI. CDL Class B drivers. For a new start in 2026, visit driveimi.com. driveimi.com. driveimi.com.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Upgrade your flooring with Drexel Interiors. Shop pet-friendly carpet and luxury vinyl plank on sale now. Plus, get 12 months interest-free financing. Visit their Indianapolis or Carmel showrooms or DrexelIN.com.
Jerry, it's no secret that public transit, especially overseen in Democrat cities, has turned into an absolute flustercuck because of the mental health care crisis in this city and other cities. And Indigo, a story that was broke by Indy Reporter this week, does not seem like a very safe place to ride, not when you have mentally unwell and unstable individuals that are sharing the bus with you. And from the footage I saw that was uploaded to Twitter and Facebook, it seems like we may now have another DeCarlos Brown Jr. situation that is brewing on the bus lines. Of course, just to refresh your memory, DeCarlos Brown Jr. was the unstable maniac who stabbed 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska to death outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, while riding the Blue Line train. You know, we got a Blue Line coming to town ourselves here in Indianapolis. And would you ride the bus when you can't feel safe?
No, not at all. And I did see that video as well. Super scary situation.
Mm-hmm.
Reminded me of the Daniel Penny situation in New York where that guy was acting crazy and he had to be restrained and the guy ended up dying. Penny went to jail for a little bit, let him out. I mean, it's a scary, scary situation. I can't imagine me being on there, let alone putting my girlfriend or my kids on the bus.
Yeah, why would you want your relatives to ride in an unsafe situation like this? Here is the video that was posted by Indy Reporter, and I cut it down a little bit for time, but you can watch the full video on Facebook and Twitter.
Oh my God, please, no. You kill your ass, man. I'm gonna kill you, bitch. I swear to God, man, not trying. Take this 20 seconds, please, man. I'm gonna ready to kill your ass. No, I'm gonna kill you, man. Then get off. What? I'm like hungry either. You're ready, bitch. Hey, your watch something out. 20 seconds. Now. I swear. You never shake your ass.
Alright.
Bitch.
Freaking out.
I will kill your white ass. Your white bitch.
Honky white bitch. Yeah, that's a good one. See it every day.
Yep, you gonna doors opening. Doors closing. I'm gonna kill you, bitch, man. Let me out there for the guy, man. No, boy. What's that? I'm 40 seconds, man. Now. Oh my God, please.
It's 18.
Oh, all y'all mama dead, bitch. I want my man right beside me. That's just fun, man. I think I'm about this. White bitch. Go ahead, too, bitch. I'm taking my man.
Good. Yeah.
I'm in danger.
If I were on that thing, I would be getting off the next stop. I would not be taking time to film it, but I'm glad they did, and I'm glad the Non decided to share it, possibly with the only media venue that would be willing to talk about it outside of course, here on 93 WIBC, being Indie Reporter, because Wish TV ain't talking about it. You know, none of the other, RTV6, they're not talking about it. None of the other local news stations around Indianapolis are talking about this story. We're talking about it. Indie Reporter's talking about it. And that's it.
It makes you wonder why they're not talking about it. It's somebody, they want to continue the bus line service. They want to make sure that that's getting filled up. The thing that scares me is you don't get wanded or metal detected before you get on the bus. You just get right on the bus.
Yeah.
This person could have pulled out a weapon and done whatever. They obviously are having some mental issue. If you see the video, once again, posted by Indie Reporter, pretty scary situation.
Well, it looks like they're tweaking out on the bus. They're shaking, they're ranting to themselves, they're making threats, they're gyrating and gesturing, gesticulating. It's really scary situation. And it's going on all over the country, Jerry, where you have just a cheapening of life, of people's lives. Another story that has come out of Texas where 18-year-old Lamarcus Darden Jr. arrested and charged with murdering Jarvis Davis over an argument stemming from French fries, Jerry.
Accused of shooting Jarvis Davis at a Fort Worth apartment after Davis would not share his French fries. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager spoke to the victim's mom today. Peyton.
Steve, and multiple people witnessed this shooting inside of an apartment, including children. So Fort Worth police tell me they were confident in who they were looking for.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Are you kidding me? Killed over not sharing his French fries? And now he's going to spend possibly years in jail as a result of this crime. Somewhere, obviously, he belongs, but how incredibly tragic that it's an 18-year-old that's now going to be facing 20 to life for murdering his friend.
So what a lot of people need to, it wasn't over the fries. The guy wasn't shot over a fry. The guy was probably shot over something that was viewed as disrespectful during an argument over the fries.
Sure.
Right? And that's what people, this generation, the younger generation, has got to get over their feelings and how you view what somebody said to you and the disrespect that's taken from that. Because the moment is over, but now so is your life.
Well, and part of the problem is you have a judicial system that is coddling these criminals as mere victims of society, as was the case for a DEI Soros judge who sentenced a rapist to less than half of the time that was suggested by a jury of his peers. This was Christopher Thompson, who abducted a teenager at gunpoint, sodomized them, forced them to withdraw $220 from an ATM, raped them again, and then released them. The 24-year-old sentencing was on February 2nd, and it took an unexpected turn as he hurled threats at Judge Tracy Davis. Quote, "If I could spit on you, I would. I'm not like most people," he said, "I don't have any sympathy for you, the victim, or the victim's family. I don't care." But Judge Tracy Davis said, "Oh, you poor thing. You're just a victim of society, and therefore you don't deserve to spend your life behind bars after raping someone multiple times and stealing $220. They coddle these criminals, Jerry.
Judge Davis thought the jury's recommendation was too long. She feels he hasn't mentally matured yet and never had a real shot at getting any help early in life.
But if you were to come in here and instead of being hurt and angry, which is what this court hears, right, as a 20-year-old African-American male that has been, experienced this society, etc., and you would show that, yes, okay, this is the situation, this is who I am. I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to be in jail for forever.
Thompson repeatedly stated he did not care, not about his sentence, the victim, or her family. But Judge Davis emphasized she's the one that holds the pen, and regardless of what the media may think, she applies the law. To her, 65 years was an extremely long time. As she puts it, it's his whole life, one she doesn't believe should be spent entirely behind bars.
This court does not believe that Mr. Thompson, if given the resources that he can get while incarcerated, is beyond being rehabilitated.
It's a joke. It's all a joke.
You can't coddle these unrepentant maniacs who are telling the judge to their face they would spit on them in the middle of their own sentencing.
Yeah, I don't even know how I feel about this. I mean, this is a great example of judges giving lenient sentences to people that are not, they don't live in the Ryan Mears doesn't live in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to deal with these people that come back out and reoffend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure this judge doesn't live in the area where this crime was committed.
Sure.
She lives out in Hamco somewhere. You know what I mean? Behind some gated community, and she's away from all these safety issues.
And that's also part of the issue, because all too often they are shielded, protected from the downstream effects of their bad judgment.
100% that's the issue.
Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. Ethan and Jerry on the air. Coming up next, Jarrett Lewis with the news. Don't miss it.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Another chance coming up of it closing. Sunny and 35 in downtown Indy. Today's high is 52. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 10:32. Another partial government shutdown is looming after the Senate failed to end their standoff over DHS funding. This means that important government agencies like FEMA and the TSA will be going without pay beginning tonight until a deal is reached.
The fight is over ICE. Congress abandoned town with no deal in place to reform ICE. That's why Democrats would not fund DHS. Democrats demand concrete reforms. The consequences of a shutdown hit federal employees at a range of agencies. Republicans say you could see an impact at the airport or in disaster recovery zones. Tens of thousands of employees at FEMA and TSA may need to work without pay for the third time since October.
Fox's Chad Pergam reporting. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem criticized Democrats on Thursday for blocking the DHS funding bill, saying that she hopes they come to their senses. Lawmakers from both parties have called for Noem to resign or be fired. Local and federal law enforcement are continuing their search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie in Arizona for a 13th day. The FBI says they have received more than 13,000 tips since February 1st. The local sheriff's office says they have received another 18,000. And Border Czar Tom Homan confirming this week that the Trump administration will be ending its surge of federal agents in the state of Minnesota. He says the decision was made following the increased cooperation between state and federal agents. Adding ICE agents from the surge would be either stationed elsewhere or returned to duty station. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told Fox and Friends they have made great efforts during their crackdown in Minnesota.
It has resulted in the detention and deportation of more than 4,000 illegal alien criminals. Let me repeat, 4,000.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz denies the claims of greater cooperation, saying the federal government is trying to save face. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. Service today. Today.
Without an Advent clinic nearby, people suffering needlessly from chronic nasal congestion and sinus infections would be stuck with either Band-Aid or Sledgehammer solutions. Band-Aids are pills or nasal sprays, and they're not true solutions. Surgery is a sledgehammer, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Because most people don't need surgery for nose and sinus issues, nor do they want a 14-day recovery. Our unique Advent approach can, in 20 minutes in our office, open your blocked nose for good, with only 1 day recovery. I'm Advent founder Dr. Kandula. Outside of Advent's four walls, invasive surgery is what they'll recommend. But here you will find effective and convenient in-office solutions to help you stop the need for Band-Aids and avoid the sledgehammer.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Most insurance accepted.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
Hi, I'm Maria, salon owner. You know the jingle. Now discover the facts about Ozempic, a GLP-1. There's only one FDA-approved Ozempic, made by Novo Nordisk. Learn about the real thing.
Talk to your healthcare professional today. Call 1-833-OZEMPIC or visit Ozempic.com to view the medication guide and to learn more about Ozempic. Semaglutide injection 0.5, 1, and 2 milligrams.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service? Need to find a local well-trained expert you can trust, like Price Point Comfort Heating and Cooling? We'll find that independent American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
Welcome back, Indianapolis. This is Ethan and Jerry on 93 WIBC, and you're hearing the dulcet tones, musical selection of producer Kev in the producer's fishbowl. Producer's fishbowl. Beep, 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 pushing those buttons and doing the things to make the show function. We salute you, producer Kev. This segment, want to talk about Democrats not giving a damn about national security. We already had that, what was it, just 2 days, temporary government shutdown, wanting to hold up DHS funding, and they're wanting to do it again, Jerry. They're wanting to defund the Department of Homeland Security, protesting over ICE, and Senator John Fetterman, the Betterman, taking his fellow Democrats to task for endangering our national security and not funding other parts of the government that go to protect American citizens just because they want to protest ICE.
So you're going to punish all of these other parts, the very important parts of our government, TSA, Coast Guard, FEMA, and cybersecurity. That's what kind of a statement if we announce to our enemies, like, well, our cybersecurity agency, now we're going to be shut down. If I really want to make a move, that probably makes it better. And then, so is that a accurate statement?
It's a fair assessment, sir. Yes, sir.
So now here I am. Here I am, a Democrat, and I think I ran the whole gamut. You know, I met with Secretary Noem, and I've always treated her with respect. I met with her in my office, and I refused, and I never will engage on the kinds of sexist kinds of terms like ICE Barbie.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
I mean, he makes an excellent point. When you are letting cybersecurity lapse just so you can protest border enforcement, that's a problem, Jerry.
I mean, I agree with John Fetterman on two things. She is ICE Barbie. She is a smoke show. All right? Jeez. But here's one big surprise. Democrats put illegals ahead. Big surprise. Open up the country. Big surprise. We're protesting immigration and custom enforcement in this country. What are we doing? What is going on in my country?
Well, they're also overlooking the fact that, okay, yeah, sure, they might not appreciate like the Renee Good shooting. You know,
okay, but then don't rile up these groups. I almost let one fly there. Don't rile up these groups then.
FCC wouldn't appreciate that, Jerry.
You're the reason that this stuff is happening with your inflammatory speech, the same way you started the Summer of Love, the same way Maxine Waters was, wherever you see them in restaurants, we yell. You are you are placating to the weirdos on your side, and you're putting them in danger.
Well, yeah, when you are putting yourself in the middle of federal law enforcement interactions, then the potential for something to go wrong exponentially increases. And if people like, Alex Preddy would have just left it alone, wouldn't have interfaced with law enforcement, then they would still be alive to protest ICE today. It is not complex to not put yourself in the middle of police interactions. It's pretty simple overall. But even if you disagree or believe that the outcomes of those individuals were undeserved, ICE is doing good things. And they are also protecting migrants, including, according to a report by Tom Holman, over 3,000 unaccompanied minors that were identified and saved in Minnesota alone. Do you want those minors to suffer? Why should they suffer?
In addition to taking public safety threats off the street, ICE here in this state have located 3,364 missing unaccompanied alien children. Children that the last administration lost and weren't even looking for. That's because the leadership of President Trump, these children were located.
Correct! So ICE is doing the good work there. They are saving the lives of unaccompanied minors. People who are ripe for victimization, people are ripe for sex trafficking, for abuse, who often do find themselves in that situation, saved by ICE, the same ICE that Democrats wanted to fund.
Yeah, the most victimized person, the person that can be victimized very easily is the illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
Who are you going to call? You can't call the police.
Not only illegal immigrants, but these are illegal immigrant children, literally the most vulnerable members of society. And the Democrats want to ignore the good work that the federal government is doing.
Because you can't give Trump's administration any pats on the back for anything.
No. Bernie Moreno was taking Keith Ellison to task. This was a mic drop moment when Keith Ellison was saying, oh, well, it depends on whether or not we should enforce the border. And then Bernie Moreno asked, well, would you enforce the border of your house if somebody broke in? This was hilarious.
To the country illegally, or you overstay a visa, should you be deported?
My simple answer is, sir, it depends.
Okay, so if somebody breaks into your home, should they be arrested for breaking and entering, or does it depend?
It's an entirely different scenario.
How's that?
Because immigration is essentially a civil, and breaking into my home is a criminal matter.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So there's laws that should be enforced, so we shouldn't enforce civil violations?
We absolutely should enforce them.
But you just said that it's a civil matter, so it's different. So if somebody
you enforce civil matters.
So if somebody commits a civil infraction, it shouldn't be enforced?
It should be.
Okay, so they should be deported.
No, they should have due process that is associated with their petition. So, for example...
So the act of entering the country illegally, you think we should say, well, did you really do it or not do it? It's pretty obvious that they did, right?
The whole concept to me that Democrats are complaining that illegals are deprived of due process. They skipped out on due process. You had your chance for due process. You could have come through the front door. And guess what? If you did, then you'd get all the due process that you want, like any other American citizen, like any other visa worker, like anybody else who submitted to the legal process, then you get the legal process. But if you're skipping the line, you don't get to demand, well, you got to follow the process now.
Yeah, no, you could have said it better. Due process starts with how you enter this country.
Yes.
I remember Don Lemon was doing a street interview, and he said, it's not illegal. And the lady said, it's not against the law? And he goes, well, it's a misdemeanor. And she goes, doesn't that make it illegal?
Yeah.
Like, how stupid?
Yeah. No, it's literally insane. And then you have some Democrats who want you to aid and abet these people who are in the process of committing a crime. The governor of Massachusetts wanting citizens to take illegals into their home, but then you have Democrat influencers like Harry Season, that low-T Democrat leftist who was shilling for Joe Biden and insisted, like, oh, no, he's fine. He's sharp as a tack, that Joe Biden. We should totally reelect him. And then he, of course, switched to Kamala Harris. No, yeah, definitely vote for Kamala Harris because she's a bright one, too. He was on the Michael Knowles show and was asked by one of the listeners while they were taking questions, well, okay, Harry, you support all these illegals in America. Would you take one into your home like Democrat governor of Massachusetts is suggesting that we do?
Maura Healey is our governor, and she has asked citizens of Massachusetts to take illegal immigrants into their homes and house them because they don't have enough housing for all of them. So I just want to know, answer my question first. Are you willing to do what Maura Healey asked the citizens of Massachusetts to do and house illegal immigrants in your own home? Because she asked us to do that. I wasn't willing to do that.
So you're making the point I was about to make, which is it's voluntary. She's asking citizens to step up if they want. Nobody's forcing you. And by the way, we already have programs. Be quiet. You right there. Be quiet. Be quiet.
Is, will you?
I know. I'm getting to it. I'm getting. Just be quiet. I'm getting to it. If you listen, unfortunately, I will not be taking anybody in because I have a one-bedroom in New York City. It's very expensive.
Hold on. You have a one-bedroom?
Yeah.
You don't have a studio?
No, I do not.
A lot of New Yorkers have studios.
Well, it depends on where you live.
A lot of people have studios in New York, so you have an extra room.
No, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I don't have any space. Unfortunately, for now, I don't have any space.
Wow. To hear I live in a 1-bedroom in New York and I don't have any space. That's a mansion.
Well,
in New York.
you're from New York. You know New York. There's no
yeah.
space in New York. My one bedroom's a shoebox. You know that.
Hypocrisy is the Vaseline of political intercourse.
These Democrats, they don't want to take care of the illegals. They want you to take care of the illegals. That's the whole problem with this government welfare system, because it offloads personal responsibility. It disconnects them with the consequences of their disastrous policy choices because they don't have to put up with it. They make you put up with it. They defer the cost of these choices by spreading it out across all taxpayers. And they say, well, I'm willing to invest in the system, but then you definitely won't have illegals into your own house.
Yeah, so I've seen there's a couple influencers that have done little pranks on people where they have like the Kamala thing up and they'll go up and, do you support illegal immigrants staying in this country? Do you would you be willing to do whatever? And then they bring 3 up. And they're like, they're just going to stay at your house for a little bit. And the way these people's attitudes change, it's exactly what you said. Rules for thee, but not for me. You can't protect yourself, but Nancy Pelosi has gun-toting security.
Well, it's no different than that Grammy Award winner,
Oh,
Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
Billie Eilish. Nobody's illegal on stolen land. Well, you're living on tribal land. And she's like, oh, no, the other land. Borders from my house. You can't come to my house. I got the mansion.
You can't cross my walls.
Yeah, I got the mansion. I got the gated fence. You can't come into my property, but it's everywhere else.
They're such bumbling fools.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. Coming up next, an interesting drop on Theo Vaughn's show from the Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. making a startling admission. We'll give you more details coming up next. 93 WIBC. Stay
Coming
tuned.
up on Tony Katz today, the Department of Homeland Security will be shut down by the Democrats, and Republicans have no idea how to fight this at all, do they? That's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
From military life to a rewarding career in IT, kickstart your new journey in a matter of months in the fields of IT and cybersecurity, including AI. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including VA benefits.
The winter snow and ice are starting to melt, but that water has to go somewhere, often straight into your basement. Even a small leak now can turn into major damage later. Every home deserves personal attention from skilled professionals. Indiana Foundation Service experts take the time to inspect, explain, and execute each repair to the highest standard. In the meantime, keep an eye out for these warning signs: damp or wet floors, musty smells or mold, condensation on walls or windows, sagging floors, or rotting wood. If you notice any of these, do not wait. Call Indiana Foundation Service today. Indiana Foundation Service will inspect your basement, find the source of the water, and create a plan to keep it dry. Protect your home before spring rains hit. Visit IndianaFoundation.com to schedule a free inspection and no pressure quote today. Indiana Foundation Service, your trusted local waterproofing experts.
Indiana Foundation Service, reliability from the ground up.
It's frustrating when you're on the phone and the other person keeps saying, sorry, can you say that again? You slow down, you speak louder, and still, they can't hear you. For many Hoosiers who are deaf, hard of hearing, deafblind, or have speech disability, that frustration turns into stress or even anger every single day. Relay Indiana helps take that tension out of the conversation. It's a free statewide service that connects phone calls through trained relay operators, making sure both sides are heard clearly and respectfully. Relay Indiana also offers real-time captioning for meetings and conference calls. You shouldn't feel upset just trying to be understood. Learn more at RelayIndiana.com. That's RelayIndiana.com, and stay connected.
Hey, Mom. It's me. Oh my gosh, you'll never believe what I just opened for Valentine's Day. A sapphire ring from Helzberg, just like the one I lost years ago. Remember how excited I was when you gave it to me? I cannot believe you remembered that story. I guess you were right. I really found the one.
This Valentine's Day, create a moment that means something with up to 40% off gifts at Helzberg. Shop in store or at helzberg.com.
Get great deals this weekend at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show this Saturday and Sunday at Stout Field in Indianapolis. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Admission is just $6 for adults, and kids 12 and under get in free. Attendees must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. This Saturday 9 to 5 and Sunday 9 to 3. Get directions and see upcoming events and more at CentralIndianaGunShows.com. That's CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Airplay Live is coming your way May 15th, featuring Julie Haggerty and Robert Hayes. Relive the comedy classic like never before with stories, laughs, and unforgettable moments. Don't miss Airplane Live. More ticket information now at WIBC.com.
Jerry, you sent me this clip for the rundown today, and I was rolling when you said, where did this come from? Who is Theo Vaughn? I don't think I've heard of him.
Oh, dude, you're missing out. Theo Vaughn's a conservative. Well, he leans right, comedian, has his own podcast, brings in everybody. Donald Trump was on there. Lately was RFK. I cried laughing when I saw this. Johnette Cruz from the newsroom reposted this. This clip is the funniest thing you're going to hear.
Yeah, it's making the rounds for sure.
And I said, I'm not scared of a germ. You know, I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. And I know this disease will kill me. Like if I don't.
What an odd thing to say.
You know, I mean, I'm glad that he's being forthright with his past and struggles with addiction, but I wouldn't be, you know, like, you can admit to the cop to the cocaine usage for sure, but sniffing it off a toilet seat?
I mean, that's transparency where I'm from.
Yeah, that's a bad judgment.
Listen, there's I do blow and I do blow off random toilet seats. That's levels.
At least do it off of a hooker's behind if that's what you're going to do. You know, don't do it off a toilet seat. There are better choices. Oh, man.
Your face smells like butt.
Oh, that is
and
that's
the Department of Health.
Yes. Well, look, if anybody knows about what's bad for health, I guess it would be RFK Jr. I'm glad he's cleaned his life up. Jerry, if you could kick the ass of any animal, which animal do you think you could take?
Listen, when I saw this on the rundown, I was looking for a chart. There's a chart of a bunch of animals, and you try to see like how far you could go down the list, right? I don't think you could get very far if an animal really got backed into a corner and went after you. I mean, sometimes I'm walking through Indianapolis and I'm like, I hope that squirrel doesn't come after me. Right? It will climb right up you and tear you up. So I don't know. I think you have a better chance at a dog than most other animals.
Well, I guess it depends on the dog. I'm not taking a pit bull, man.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
But that's one breed.
Squirrels can be nasty. Raccoons can be really nasty. But you know what I never expected would be nasty? Kangaroos.
Oh, dude.
But one dude in Australia by the name of Cole, he found out he was rescuing his dog because I guess sometimes these kangaroos will get smaller animals, drag them into the water, and try and drown them. So here's Cole, an Australian guy, trying to save his dog from this kangaroo. The friend starts whacking him. He's beating up on the kangaroo. They save the dog. The friend is ferreting the dog away. And then the kangaroo, he's got the death stare.
Yeah.
He comes after Cole, and he's hopping out of the water. He's boing, 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 like a rocket out of the water, grabs a hold of this guy's head, starts digging in his claws. He's growling. He's scratching up his scalp.
Jerry, and the kangaroo is swole. He's big.
Yeah, no, kangaroos are jacked. Have you ever seen kangaroos? I mean, they are muscular little guys. Not even little.
With
those
claws.
With the claws. Yeah. No, I mean, the claw punctured at least 3 inches deep into his stomach in two separate places.
You know who this doesn't happen to? Latinos. We do not play around when it comes to wild animals whatsoever.
Well, you don't have to worry about wild animals.
No, because my white friends will tell me what's out there.
Well, that and you got the cartels.
Well,
you got
that's
cartels
true.
to deal with.
That's
the
true.
Border.
That's true.
That's a more pressing
There's
problem.
a tiger outside. Jerry just closed his door.
Yeah, tiger will scratch you to death. Cartel will behead you. But yeah, so the kangaroo completely messed this guy up, and he's lucky to be alive. If he hadn't rolled on his stomach, might not be here. Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. This is Ethan Hatcher and Jerry Lopez. Stay tuned for Hour 3 coming up next.
It's time. You've been putting off that kitchen or bath remodel long enough. What are you waiting for? Get started today with Boer Remodeling. Boer Remodeling customer Kathy had a bath remodel with Boer. Kathy, talk a little bit about your experience.
Our experience with Boer has been terrific. The process was so easy and seamless. When we decided to do a larger remodel of our first floor, Boer was the first company we thought of hiring.
And were you happy with the results?
The results are amazing, and we are so happy with our home and the work that Boer did.
Peter is another recent Boer Remodeling customer with a new kitchen. Peter, what was the best part about working with Boer?
We especially liked the active participation that we were able to have in selection of stone for the countertops. Really came out beautiful. The cabinets also came out very, very well.
The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. They'll guide you through the entire process. Start with a free consultation. Talk to Boer Remodeling today. That's BOOHER, BoerRemodeling.com.
Selling the house the non-traditional way to a company like Simple Quarters takes so much stress and relief off of you. You can put that time back in your family and taking care of what needs to be taken care of. So my father-in-law, his health was declining. We needed to move him to put in assisted living, and we needed to get the home out of his name. Initially, my wife just wanted to let the property be taken over by the state. She was stressed just due to the condition of her dad, moving him back to Indianapolis. And I told her, look, we can sell the home, use those funds to care for him over the next few years. I really didn't want to hassle with putting it on the market, listing it, answering questions, fixing stuff. I reached out to Simple Quarters. The process was just super easy through Simple Quarters. Everything they said they did. There was no pressure involved whatsoever. The pricing I got for the house was very fair, and it was a relief knowing we didn't have the financial responsibility and we could just put all our time and energy into taking care of our father-in-law.
Call Simple Quarters 317-687-HOME, 317-687-HOME.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
The Attorney General's Unclaimed Property Division has over $800 million just waiting to be claimed. Text Tamara and Nigel to 46220 or visit indianaunclaimed.gov to claim yours today.
Meet Drexel Interior's new cabinet line, Drexel Select. Premium cabinets with multiple colors and free in-store design. Get yours in just 5 days. Visit DrexelIN.com to upgrade your home today.
Coming up in 2 minutes from the Dugan Air Heating and Cooling Mitsubishi Electric Studios, some of the reaction around a bill at the State House that mentions ICE, why the Pacers are on the receiving end of a hefty fine from the NBA, and which former Colts player was in Indianapolis Thursday night. Those stories and more after Fox News. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 11 o'clock.
They might not get paid for a while. Again, I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Tens of thousands of employees at FEMA and TSA may need to work without pay for the third time since October.
Because funding for much of Homeland Security runs out at midnight. And Fox's Chad Pergram also reports from the Capitol.
The fight is over ICE. Congress abandoned town with no deal in place to reform ICE. That's why Democrats would not fund DHS. Democrats demand concrete reform.
Yet, immigration enforcement operations will continue, mostly unaffected, already funded by Republicans in the big, beautiful bill. Now to Minnesota, where Fox's Brooke Taylor reports.
5 people who were federally indicted, accused of storming this church with anti-ICE agitators, are going to be arraigned this afternoon. DHS says 3 of those people were the ringleaders, accusing them of planning the riot.
Former CNN anchor Don Lemon was also at that church protest and will also be arraigned today. Lemon insists he was just covering the protest as a journalist. President Trump will travel to Fort Bragg in North Carolina in a few hours, where he'll thank troops involved in the command operation in Venezuela last month that captured leader Nicolas Maduro, now jailed on drug and terror charges in the U.S. And as Fox's Jared Halpern reports from the White House, the president's moving some naval forces that had been targeting drug trafficking boats off the South American coast to increase pressure on Iran.
The USS Gerald Ford is sailing from the Caribbean to the Middle East, increasing the firepower available to President Trump if a deal with Iran is not made.
We have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal.
The president tells me he thinks an agreement can be made in about a month's time.
It should happen quickly. They should agree very quickly.
America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Asking local agencies to cooperate. You've got a sunny sky across central Indiana, 37 right now in downtown Indianapolis. 52 is the high for today. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 11:02. The Indiana House passing a bill on Thursday that supporters say will keep the state from becoming a sanctuary one. Here's Ryan Hedrick.
We are going to cooperate with ICE.
That's State Representative J.D. Prescott explaining a 36-page bill that he co-sponsored. House Speaker Todd Houston says this bill requires state entities like schools and jails to work with immigration and customs enforcement.
We certainly want people that have committed criminal acts to go through the ICE system.
It also allows the Indiana Attorney General to take legal action against people who own businesses that hire people who they know are in the country illegally. Ryan Hedrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
A celebration of life Thursday evening happening at I-Town Church in Fishers for Haley Busby. Mark Miranda is one of Haley's uncles.
Haley would make these bacon and egg sandwiches with buffalo sauce and would always ask her family if they wanted one and would prepare the egg to their liking. That's just a quick mention again of her thoughtfulness.
Miranda says Haley also had a passion for music. She played clarinet, moved on to piano lessons, and had a wide range of bands and artists she would listen to. There are pink ribbons up all over communities in central Indiana to honor her. The death of the 17-year-old girl has sent shockwaves through the state, highlighting the deadly reality of online grooming.
Also, offering gifts and money is a way of grooming as well. While kids might think it's flattering to get attention or it's cool to get a gift card or whatever it looks like, that is a key indicator of grooming.
That's Nicole Probst from Prevent Child Abuse Indiana. She is urging parents to look for red flags like strangers asking about a child's location. A man is shot late Thursday night on Indy's north side. IMPD says the man was taken to a hospital in serious condition. They're asking the public to come forward if they have more information. The roster management for the Indiana Pacers coming under scrutiny by the NBA. The Pacers were fined $100,000 by the league for violating the player participation policy. The NBA says the Pacers held players out of their February 3rd game against the Utah Jazz, who they could have held out in other games in a way that would have better promoted compliance with the policy. And former Colts quarterback and Pro Football Hall of Fame member Peyton Manning returning to Indianapolis on Thursday for the final Celebration of Caring Gala. The event, held at Lucas Oil Stadium, helps support Peyton Manning Children's Hospital. Over its 18-year run, the gala has raised nearly $25 million.
The community support, it's just been off the charts. A lot of the same people have been here all 18 years. We've had new supporters throughout the years, but it's just been a great display of what Indianapolis is about.
Manning said he plans to continue his role as an ambassador for the cause. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com.
This Valentine's Day, say it from the heart with a little help from Cynthia's Hallmark. Start with a Valentine's card, and for extra wow, send a fresh cut paper pop-up card bursting with beautiful flowers that last. Perfect as a mailable tabletop surprise for someone in the hospital, away at college, or far from home. Warm her up with therapeutic spa socks infused with shea butter and lavender. Add a Serenity Spa candle for the ultimate relaxation combo. Cynthia's has a great selection of the most silky soft, luxurious lounge pants and shirts, plus beautiful lingerie, chemise, and robe sets, just $24.98. And the kids will love the glow-in-the-dark Valentine's blankets. They magically light up in the night. IU Hoosier fans, don't miss championship drinkware, designer sweatshirts, and Highland Mint commemorative plaques. And don't forget the chocolates. Cynthia's carries Fannie Mae and South Bend chocolates. Shop locally owned Cynthia's Hallmark this Valentine's Day, 116th and Allisonville Road, 116th and Brooks School Road, 96th and Lantern Road, and in Greenfield.
Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. This is Ethan Asher and Jerry Lopez on the air. Jerry, Canada suffered the worst school shooting they've had in decades when a trans maniac shot up a school, killed his mother, killed his stepbrother, and shot 7 other people at the school. I disagree when people include the shooter in the fatalities. They say 9 people shot. No, 8 people were shot and 1 monster killed himself. I don't include them in the victims list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I just want to make sure you use the criminal's pronouns. That's the most important thing right now, is make sure you identify the criminal who is a heinous monster the way that they want to be called.
Oh, my God, Jerry. This boiled my blood. I was so upset when the Canadian police, actually correcting reporters like, no, it's not a he. We're choosing to use the identity that the shooter preferred. I don't give a damn about the shooter.
We prefer were.
Expand a little bit on the suspect. Was he known to police? Were there any red flags regarding his mental health?
So a suspect is identified as an 18-year-old female by the name of Jessie. We have a history of police attendance at the family residence. Some of those calls were related to mental health issues.
Oh, shocker.
Well.
Known to police.
Mental health calls to the house many times before. Really, is anybody surprised by that?
No, but and here's the sad part. I'm not surprised about the pronoun thing either.
No, well, here's the real issue, because you are muddying, you are
you're lying on statistics.
Yes, you're lying on the statistics. When it was happening, you had commentators who were reacting, and they're like, "Well, it's reports of a female who's shooting up a school. This is pretty unusual because women aren't usually mass shooters." And well, golly, you're right. It wasn't a woman who was a mass shooter. It was a man. It was a man in a dress. That's what it was.
It seems like a lot of them are.
And this mother, she's paying the price, unfortunately, ultimately at the end of the day, for coddling and supporting this. She'd been a vocal supporter of her son in the transition process. She'd taken other people to task for their views on so-called trans rights, and very supportive of the transitioning process. But that, for all the good that it did her, fat lot of good, he shot her anyway. Didn't matter that he was supported. Didn't matter that he had the love of his family, because he had mental problems.
Yeah, they supported him in every way that you're supposed to.
You can't coddle mental illness at the end of the day. And just because you surgically mutilate yourself, it doesn't quiet the demons in the back of your head.
Yeah, no, not at all. And we did a story last week, me and Abdul, about the first trial where this person, the doctors were found civilly liable, had to pay somebody $1 million, $2 million for doing the surgery on somebody.
Yeah.
And that was the first in the country. So who knows? We're just the tip of the iceberg, unfortunately.
Well, because they are pushing these minors to surgically mutilate themselves. And look, when you're 12 years old, you don't have a good grasp on reality, good grasp to make these kind of radical decisions for yourself. And this trans shooter in Canada started transitioning at the age of 12. And instead of showing deference to the victims, and instead of showing respect to the families of those who were involved in this tragic shooting, the Canadian police are choosing to respect the criminal.
And we're not hiding it. In fact, you're the first media to ask the question. I will say this. We identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female both socially and...
Stop it, please, I beg you! It's a sin! It's a sin! It's a sin!
Started the transitioning process at 12 years old, Jerry.
That is sad, man. That's bad parenting.
That's sad. That's sick.
That's bad parenting.
Yes.
That's way too early to make a decision like that.
Well, and they've been guilted and manipulated into thinking that, oh, you're doing the right thing for your son, because these leftists, they want to frame it that if you don't coddle the gender dysphoria, well, what if they commit suicide? Then you might have their blood on your hands. And if you tell a parent that they might have the blood of their children on their hands, then they're going to do everything within their power to try and avoid that from happening. But we see the evidence time and time again that the transition physicians have not significantly lowered the rate of self-harm among transgendered individuals. That coddling this kind of mental illness does not go to quiet or soothe the disconnect with their dysphoria. And look, I feel extremely sorry for you if you look in the mirror and you have a mind-body disconnect and
It's
you say
horrible.
that the person that I see in the mirror is not the person I believe myself to be. Yeah, that's horrible. But at the end of the day, look, only adults can make the decision to surgically mutilate themselves. You should not be involving children in this kind of radical gender surgery.
Yeah, but once you make I had my dog neutered, it's still a boy.
Sure.
It's not a girl all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like until we start tackling the mental health aspect of this and just thinking we can just put on different parts to fix the problem, this is going to continue to be a heinous thing.
Yeah. No, and this is
And we're just getting started, right? What's going to happen in 10 years when a lot of these people that have gone through this now regret it? Now they're even more suicidal.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because they have permanently and irrevocably altered their body, because you can't take that back. Once you start chopping things off, it's gone.
Yeah.
And that was just like that person who got the multi-million-dollar settlement, who had been erroneously convinced that this would solve their problems when, oops, it didn't. In fact, it made the problems even worse. That's at issue here. And like the Canadian police said, this isn't new. This is something they had been drawn to the home before. They had even taken away firearms from the home previously, but then were successfully petitioned to return them. And there are photos in the media that have started to recirculate of like this boy who is sitting next to another young child, grinning gleefully, holding a rifle, sitting on a couch. This, I mean, especially after what happened, is extraordinarily chilling, Jerry.
And this is in Canada, where they have like firearm restrictions.
Yeah.
So laws don't stop weirdos from committing these acts.
No, and they're lucky that it was only 8 fatalities, because he injured, I think, another 25 in the course of that shooting. It could have been a lot worse, but fortunately for those individuals, they were spared from having to pay the ultimate price for this one lunatic's mental health crisis.
And killed his family too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that.
Killed his mother in the house when they
There's shades of that one in Connecticut that we had here.
Or the Minnesota church shooting, for that matter.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's sad, and unfortunately we see this story.
Is it wrong to come out and say what's going on in the trans community? Like they would say when Muslims or radical Muslims commit terrorist acts, we want that community to stand up and go, this is wrong. When minority groups, there's shootings on the east side in the hood somewhere, we want members of that community, like Reverend Harrison, to come out and go, this is wrong. But when the trans community does it, nobody comes out and says it's wrong.
Well, what's worse, you have some members of the trans community who are reporting on the shooter as the victim. They were reporting on this crisis and saying, well, it was this 18-year-old Jesse. He was the first victim of this massacre.
Sure.
No!
Sure.
He's not the victim here. He's the perpetrator. The only people that were victimized were lying leftists who informed this young man and his family that they would solve the way to solve his mental crisis was through surgical alteration, and that's clearly not the case.
When less than 2% of the population is continuously the ones that are perpetrating these acts, we need to take a long, hard look at what's going on.
Well, I mean, when you have, something like 40% of the trans community ultimately engages in self-harm and suicide, that's indicative of the real issue, and it's not one that can just be solved by surgically altering yourself, which ultimately doesn't change anything. Like you said, if you neuter your dog, it doesn't suddenly become a female.
Yeah, and until we start handling it as a mental issue, it's just going to keep happening. Like you said, it's a one of the most deadly school shootings there in Canada, right? But
deadliest in decades.
I mean, but 20-something people injured, not killed. That number could have been close to 40.
And the fact that the Canadian police is showing more deference to the perpetrator than the victims, I think, is a callous disregard for those families and the price that they paid for the coddling of mental illness in that country, and things that we've seen here in America as well. Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. Ethan and Jerry on the air. Thanks for listening in. Coming up next, casual racism from the Democrat Party. Is anyone surprised? We'll play you some shocking clips coming up next. Stay tuned.
Home for the best variety of the 20s.
We're in the 20s, which I'm pretty sure is malt liquor weather.
30s.
As long as the sun's shining, I'll take it.
And 40s.
I'm always one day behind the weather.
Temperatures are sticking around the 40s, just like where Democrats keep their statewide vote totals.
The best variety of Midwest weather.
I mean, it's 50 degrees right now, but tomorrow we will be freezing our butts off.
Follow Indiana's best variety.
It was in the upper 40s yesterday.
We're lucky to hit 20 today. Are you kidding?
On 93 WIBC.
Attention, Class B CDL drivers. Are you looking to work for a company that provides you with a great starting wage, outstanding benefits, and a generous retirement plan? Irving Materials Incorporated is currently hiring ready-mix truck drivers. If you are a CDL Class B driver, visit driveimi.com today to learn about the job opportunities at IMI. CDL Class B drivers. For a new start in 2026, visit driveimi.com. driveimi.com. driveimi.com.
In a divided world, music remains our most powerful bridge, an art form that shows us again and again that we belong to one another. Music is the one language the world already shares. It crosses borders, dissolves fear, and reminds us of our common heartbeat. In every culture, in every generation, people turn to music to celebrate, to mourn, to heal, and to hope. It gathers strangers in community and transforms audiences into one collective breath. The Denise Graves Foundation stands where history, artistry, and humanity meet, illuminating untold stories, empowering future legends, and building a world where talent rises because of potential. The world is full of brilliance. We're here to make sure it is never hidden.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Turn your book idea into publishing gold.
800-215-6818. 800-215-6818. That's 800-215-6818.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Upgrade your flooring with Drexel Interiors. Shop pet-friendly carpet and luxury vinyl plank on sale now. Plus get 12 months interest-free financing. Visit their Indianapolis or Carmel showrooms or DrexelIN.com.
Welcome back to 93 WIBC with Ethan Hatcher and Jerry Lopez on the air. This segment, Jerry, wanted to discuss the casual racism of the left, because it's usually Democrats who want to say, oh, it's the Republicans, it's the conservatives, they're the racists, they're the discriminators. When they want to protect voting rights, it's because they actually hate minorities. But it's the leftists more often than not, when they take the mask off, that reveal their true racism. And in this case, this is a former New York City Council member by the name of Charles Barron. This clip's a couple of years old now. But listen to the glee in which at the time he described the pleasure he got from losing white population in your district. And when you listen to this clip, ask yourself, would this fly if it were about any other race other than white people?
I have the distinct honor to be able to come before you and say I actually lost white population in my community. I lost them. They left. They left.
Wow.
I didn't ask them why. They left. So if you see 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 whites in my neighborhood, they're passing through. But that's on a serious note. We got 13,000 black elected officials in this country. We've had mayors, we've had governors, we have city council members. We need to get radical.
Oh, well,
get radical. The Democrat Party already is radical, and this is still relevant, Jerry, because listen to the reaction from the crowd there.
They clapped.
They were clapping. They were cheering. They were hooting. They were
What
hollering.
if you said the black people have left my neighborhood,
And
if
that's
you
something to
see just a
celebrate?
couple of them, they're just passing through, you would be in huge trouble.
You would be immediately taken to task. You would be publicly
Al Sharpton
humiliated.
would be marching through the streets of Indianapolis.
Yeah, people would be picketing you. People would be sharing
Wow.
your picture. But they feel incredibly confident in letting their racist colors show because they're supported in this endeavor. Because the casual racism is entirely on the Democrat Party, and they embrace it wholeheartedly. You heard the sound. You heard the clip, Jerry.
I mean, I'm shocked. That's
Flabbergasted.
overt racism.
I mean, if you said that, like
I am honored to say the white people have left. I mean, just the way he started that statement would get you blasted on the news if it was the other way around.
What are you proud about? Why would that make you proud that the white population has left your district? I mean, I in some ways, I wish he would have elaborated on
All
that.
I need to know is, do you have a Starbucks? If you don't have a Starbucks, that tells me everything I need to know.
And it's not just him. There's a Democrat state representative by the name of Gene Wu, similarly embracing this kind of racial tone. He was
Gene Wu from Texas.
Yeah. He was on a podcast, Define America, with Jose Antonio Vargas. It's a left-wing podcast, and they were talking about immigration issues. And then Gene Wu said, well, if only all the minorities realized that they share the same oppressor, the whites, then we would be able to take over the government.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning, because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided.
What is wrong with you? Why are you blue?
The day that you realize that you don't have an oppressor, or the day that you realize that the only oppressor is you, that's the day you succeed in this country. When you remove the BS hurdles that they put in your way. Oh, Jerry, it's because you're Spanish. Like, why would I even try? I think that's a form of child abuse. When you are telling kids not to even try because they're not white, that's child abuse to me.
Well, and then it puts in their head, like he was expressing, their conceptualization of fairness is by reverse racism. It's by making up for discrimination in the past, by instituting discrimination in the present, by discriminating against who Gene Wu would classify as white oppressors. And they say it openly. They wear it on their sleeve. They say it with pride. That's frightening and disgusting at the same time.
I mean, there are cities that have had Democrats in charge for forever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're not doing well.
Think about Detroit. Think about the decay. And
Flint, Michigan
Yeah.
still doesn't have drinking water, and they're Dems.
They've been how long has Flint, Michigan been going on?
That's
with
a long time, brother.
That dated back to the Barack
Look
Obama administration.
at Nancy Pelosi's district. She has Skid Row.
Yeah.
That Democrats ruin the cities that they're in.
Yeah, and then they blame
And they
it
need
on
it to be ruined because it does too well. Then you become independent. Then you don't want me helping you.
Well, they need to believe that there is this imaginary oppressor, because then it absolves them of personal responsibility, or by pointing the finger at the Democrat elected representatives that are turning these communities into hellholes. It's not the white people who have made it that way. It's the Democrats who have made it that way. And yes, some of them, like Nancy Pelosi, are white, but it's not because they're white. It's because they're political views.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what I said before. There's no incentive to help you. Right? And if I can take away your even idea that you can get yourself out of your own situation, if I can plant that idea that you're stuck in your situation because of your race, well, then you feel helpless, you feel like a victim, and you give me more power.
Well, Democrats stand to profit by keeping minorities on the government plantation. That's what they want. And, people, I think, fortunately, are starting to wake up to this.
But that's why they need the illegals.
You talked about like your son,
Yeah.
who is conservative, has conservative friends across racial demographics and groups, people who identify with the freedom and the liberty of the Republican Party and the conservative worldview that doesn't see them as victims of oppressors, but sees individuals as masters of their own destiny. And this kind of overt racism is being rejected by the public at large. This is more polling from CNN, who is reporting that the public is moving away as Democrats first shift ever further to the left. They push away people in the middle. They push away people who are normal, rational, functioning human beings.
What about Democratic socialists, like the likes of, you've got Bernie Sanders or Zora Mandani here in New York City? Where does that line up?
Okay, so on a separate question where you essentially, CNN asked this last year, which was, okay, Democrats who think of themselves as democratic socialists, among all Democrats, including those independents who lean towards the Democratic Party. Look at this. We're talking about a third of all Democrats who identify as democratic socialists. Bernie Sanders and Zora Mandani are not alone. They are a considerable part of the Democratic base at this point. And more than that, if you look at Democrats under the age of 35, they are nearly half of the Democratic Party. Look at this. 42% of Democrats think of themselves as democratic socialists under the age of 35, just like Zora Mandani. That, what happened in New York City, is not some aberration, right? It is not something that just happened in New York City. It is something that we are seeing grow within the Democratic Party at this particular point, when we're talking about 42% of Democrats under the age of 35 identifying as democratic socialists, and a third of all Democrats. My goodness gracious.
So if the ideology of the Democratic Party is shifting, how are people feeling about it?
Okay, so we're talking about the Democratic base, right? But what about all Americans, right? How about all voters? Voters who say the Democrats are now too liberal? Look at this percentage. It was 42% in 96, 48% in 2013, now 58% in 2025 of all voters say that the Democratic Party is too liberal. The Democrats are moving to the left, the far left is gaining power, and there could be some electoral repercussions, because what we see right now is voters, the clear majority, say that they are too liberal.
I tried to tell them, but they wouldn't listen to me!
This is obscene. And when you are peddling overt racism like that, I hope that it would be rejected by the majority of normal people. I hope that they would be absolutely repelled by what is overtly repellent behavior.
Yeah, and honestly, like, if any decision makers listening, I would like to start an exchange program, right? We can trade these self-identifying socialists for patriotic Cubans who want to come here and live the American dream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even just normal Democrats who just have a difference in worldview, I would take that over the radical socialists and the race peddlers that the Democrat Party has embraced at large.
And I would like to see what happens after a Trump presidency, because maybe you'll be able to get some of those Dems that think that they've gone too far to come over to the right. But Trump is so hard to digest if you're coming from the left.
Well, the next litmus test, the next temperature read is going to be the midterms that are coming up later this year. And we're going to see exactly where the left is, how they choose to campaign, and the kind of rhetoric that they embrace for this election cycle.
Yeah, and Mamdani's first free grocery store opened in New York. So let's start the timer on how long that stays available.
Well, it didn't work for Kansas. I don't think it's going to work for New York either, but we shall see. Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. Ethan and Jerry on the air. Coming up next, WIBC with the news.
2026 has arrived, America's 250th anniversary, and physical gold remains the ultimate store of value in an unsteady world. Gold has outperformed the S&P 500 over the past 20 years. Central banks are stockpiling it. Why? Because possession is the priority. This week only, Global Coin is offering a museum-quality 1-ounce 2026 MS-70 Gold Eagle at the best price in the country. Today's spot price of gold. No dealer markup. Perfect grade. Government issue. The first 50 buyers receive our hardcover critically acclaimed book, Modern Numismatic Masterpieces, absolutely free. This opportunity is brief. Supply is finite. Once this allocation is gone, it's gone. Call right now, 855-COIN-GOLD. That's 855-COIN-GOLD. No premium, just absolute scarcity, absolute quality, and absolute ownership. Anchor your wealth with the asset that lasts. Call 855-COIN-GOLD.
It's a new year.
Ready for a fresh start or career reboot? At My Computer Career, prep for a more recession-resistant future in the high-demand fields of IT, cybersecurity, in months, not years, including AI. Whether you're starting out or switching careers, no prior training is needed. Attend school online from home or on campus. Go to mycomputercareer.edu to take the free career evaluation today. mycomputercareer.edu, an elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
At Pella Windows and Doors, we've spent decades helping homeowners replace their windows and doors with products they can trust, installed by local experts. For a limited time, get 22% off Pella products. Visit PellaIndy.com/radio to learn why America's homeowners rate Pella Windows and Doors of Indianapolis #1 most trusted and highest value. Call 833-87-PELLA. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Study of homeowner perceptions of leading national brands. Study commissioned by Pella, 2023.
My brother never checks on dad. Or my sister won't make time to take mom to the doctor. Are these things you've heard yourself say? This is Tina McIntosh, president of Joy's House and co-host of the Caregiver Crossing radio program. I have a caregiving tip for you. Stay tuned.
Cardon & Associates provides residents with the best senior living options and personalized service. Visit cardon.us to find a community near you.
Expressing anger or resentment toward unsupportive siblings can cause unmendable rifts in relationships. Don't try to control everyone else. You can only control yourself. The success of your caregiving journey does not rest on others. So enjoy the time with your loved one. This is your special time with them. More tips like this are available anytime at caregivercrossingradio.org. With new weekly content created by Joy's House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana, we're an on-air and online support group for Hoosier family caregivers. Hear conversations with experts, access the library of online education, and more at caregivercrossingradio.org.
Join us every Friday right around 5:50 for Beer Sample Friday.
Brought to you by Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus, home of free delivery within 75 miles of their store.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Not trying to become a sanctuary state. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending at 11:30. The Indiana House approving a measure on Thursday aimed at boosting coordination between federal, state, and local authorities with immigration enforcement.
Why are we in a hurry to put every level of government at the disposal of this agency? With their track record, open your eyes.
State Representative Matt Pierce speaking out against the bill. The law would make it illegal for employers to knowingly hire someone in the U.S. unlawfully while protecting those who take steps to verify work status. The Pacers are being fined $100,000 by the NBA for violating the league's player participation policy. Former Colts quarterback Peyton Manning in Indianapolis on Thursday for the 18th and final Celebration of Caring Gala to benefit the Children's Hospital. And today is 100 days until the Indianapolis 500. The 110th edition is set for Sunday, May 24th. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
The Massachusetts coast disappeared behind them. A father and son on a fragile frigate, sailing not just toward France, but toward history.
WIBC celebrates the spirit of 76. Brought to you by the WIBC Daily Newsletter.
February 13th, 1778. John Adams and his young son John Quincy boarded the frigate Boston bound for France. Days earlier, America had secured a French alliance. Adams was sent to turn the treaty into trust. The voyage was perilous. British ships prowled the Atlantic, but the mission carried 2 future presidents and a shared purpose: to prove the United States belonged among nations.
The spirit of 76. History remembered. Freedom celebrated. Have the latest headlines and show content delivered to your inbox daily. Sign up at WIBC.com.
Welcome back to 93 WIBC. Ethan and Jerry on the air. Jerry, this show has gone by incredibly quick. I can't believe we've already breezed through more than half of our third hour.
Yeah, we're at the end. It's flown by. It's been a blast, man.
Yeah,
it's been a blast.
You know what they say? Time flies when you're having fun, and I've had a lot of fun with you this morning. I hope you've had fun with us, too, out there in listener land. And if you've missed a moment of the show, make sure to catch the podcasts uploaded to WIBC.com. I believe we're on a few other podcasting platforms as well. So check your favorite favorite podcasting platform for the show, and I'm sure we'll be there. Thanks for listening. This segment, I wanted to talk about the manipulation of the media, something that I think most people at this point are familiar with. But now, bombshell revelation from CBS investigative journalist Catherine Herridge, who's gone public with the revelation that her bosses, the CBS upper management, were telling her to bury the Hunter Biden laptop story. We're telling her to not report on the news in order to manipulate the outcome of the election. This should raise the hair on the back of everybody's neck, Jerry.
Yeah, and I was one of those people from social media on X that shared that New York Post story when it first broke, and my account was suspended. I had to delete that post or I wouldn't be reinstated on X.
Well, they told you that it was misinformation at
Yep.
the time. They said that, oh, no, that's just a Russian disinformation campaign, and whoops, turns out it was completely legitimate. Whoops, turns out a lot of partisan operatives in the media wanted to sit on that story in order to tinker with and manipulate the outcome of the midterm elections, and this is disgusting, Jerry.
What about Democratic socialists, like the likes of...
We eventually broadcast a story about the Hunter Biden laptop after the midterm elections in 2022. We commissioned a forensic review. I got a copy of the laptop data. I went to a lot of effort to get the cleanest copy of the laptop data, the same data that was provided to the FBI, because I didn't want to have any professional journalistic risk for CBS News. I wanted this thing to be totally locked down. When we did the story, we did it after the midterms. I argued against that because it was ready before the midterms, and my training is that you should always do the story when it's ready to go. You should not be dictated by the political cycle. Once we got the laptop story on the morning news, I felt that there was so much there that we could still do. For example, in the text messages, there's unfortunately the use of the N-word, the liberal use of the N-word. And I thought this was worthy of a story, but I was told that it was not something that interested CBS News. Then I asked for a forensic review of the laptop, and we found that there were more than half a dozen emails that were likely used by Joe Biden. I thought that was a story, but the answer that came back was, well, we need to know what the content is of the emails. But that was going to be a years-long process. So there was no way. So there were a lot of reasons I was told not to do it, not to pursue it.
And think about how much information, how much corruption we would not know about the Biden administration were it not for the fact that son Hunter was a prolific self-documentarian, taking pictures of himself with his crack pipe, sharing emails, 10% to the big guy, making extraordinary revelations like that. And of course, Catherine Herridge concerned about the language that was used, prolific use of the N-word amongst Hunter Biden's communications. Well, okay. Yeah, that's a problem. I think the corruption in the government and the fact that he was coordinating with the vice president and then president of the United States for self-enrichment of himself and his family, that's probably a little higher on the priority list. But sure, it used the N-word, probably something to report about.
Yeah, to me, it's crazy that how much interference the media ran for the Biden administration, running up for while he was campaigning. I mean, basement Biden, he didn't even come out and talk to anybody. The story comes out, the laptop, oh, it's fake. The Russia gate, all these different things that they tried to do to help this old man win. And then he wins and we're going, something's not right. Oh, he's fine. Something's not right.
It's fascinating how long it's taken for conspiracy theory to become conspiracy fact.
Oh, it's undefeated though.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theorists are like 300-0.
But I mean, anybody who's been paying attention has said for a long time that the media is being manipulated by the Democrat Party. They are basically patsies. They are partisan officials. They are not neutral reporters. They are partisans who are manipulating facts on the ground and the news. And look, we don't identify as journalists. We are commentators, we are entertainers. But if you are representing yourself to be a journalist, then you should have the unbiased, unvarnished truth and report on that. That should be your foremost priority instead of attempting to manipulate facts in order to affect outcomes. Nobody who's been paying attention is surprised by this, but it's just fascinating to hear from the horse's mouth that it's been going on, and in a big way, Jerry.
This is one of the big things that's come from the advent of the internet. right? Because now we can go out and get so many sources. So when places like CNN tell you a lie or a half-truth or omit some fact, that fact's readily available. It makes me wonder what the heck they were doing before the internet.
Yeah, because there is now more accountability and there is less ability for them to censor alternative sources who are revealing the facts and who are sharing stories like this that the media representatives would much rather stay quiet.
But then it makes you wonder, should social media or the internet be a utility? Right? Is something like X today's newspaper, right? When you start saying, when the government is literally censoring information you're putting up on the internet, that's an issue. That's a huge issue.
Well, X and social media generally is the town hall of today, and I think multiple reports have now indicated most people are getting their news from the internet, from these social media sites, because they can't trust old standby journalists like CBS for reasons exactly like this, because they know they are being manipulated and lied to. And when it comes to accountability, another issue that you heard Democrats, ringing that bell for years was, we need to have police body cams instituted on a widespread basis, but then oops, when they put on the body cams, it turned out that police brutality was exceedingly rare and rampant criminality was exceedingly brutal.
What do you say? Take the cameras off. It all looks justified.
Well, that's the problem. This leftist by the name of Alec Karaksan. God, what a complicated...
Not gonna work here.
Karaksanis, the author of Propaganda, says that, liberals were just manipulated into instituting body cams because transparency didn't tell the narrative that this leftist wanted to pursue.
In the wake of Michael Brown, we'll market it to low information people in the public, to well-meaning liberal people. We'll market it as accountability and transparency. And so they totally shifted, and then they were able to get hundreds of millions of dollars toward their goal of outfitting every single cop in the United States with a mobile surveillance camera that the police control. They control when it's on, when it's off, what it captures. When something is captured, it's released to the public. So if the police capture, let's say, an undocumented immigrant committing some crime, that's out on Fox News and the New York Post within hours. But if they capture the police doing something horrific, the public may never see that video. So body cameras are a mirage. And as I write in the Propaganda book, and it's really critical to understand exactly how it happens, not only do they not reduce police violence, but they have an essential propaganda tool.
Am I evil? Am I like an evil person? Oh my God. I mean, absolutely. Do I not tell you that enough? You are like the most evil guy I know, man.
Do these people ever stop to listen to how ridiculous they sound when a long-form, uncensored, unvarnished video is somehow supposed to be a mirage? It's manipulating the facts, not revealing them? Don't be absurd.
I mean, how funny is that whole... They need to have cameras for accountability.
Now
all of a sudden, it's like, take the cameras off.
Take the cameras away for accountability.
We can't skew the story if you drop the video.
Yeah, because if, like the Michael Brown situation, hands up, don't shoot.
Never happened.
Would have been immediately revealed as a lie.
He neither had his hands up at all.
Yeah, but now body cam shows that on repeat, and you have hundreds of channels on YouTube that are just dedicated to re-uploading these. And look, they show both sides of the issue. Sometimes they show police acting brutally and outside of their
and they
authority,
should be held accountable.
And they should be held accountable. But oftentimes, what you see are criminals behaving recklessly as they are wont to do.
I mean, it's crazy to think how many cities have burned down because the body camera wasn't released.
Yeah. Yeah, and now they have the accountability, which leftists like this Alec, author of Propaganda, are shrugging off and shying away from. Another story going around. This is, and you shared this with me. The Miss North Florida winner Kaylee Bush spoke out after her crown was taken away.
Yep. Oh, she won. And they said, not so fast.
And they said it because she didn't want to affirm an untruth, which is that men are not women and women are not men.
You were looking to compete for Miss America, but then they took your Florida crown off you because you made statements about sort of transgender?
Yes, that is exactly right. I was asked to sign a contract that was different than the first one that I had agreed to because they had changed it 4 weeks after I rightly won. And so I didn't lose my crown because I broke a rule. I lost the crown because I was unwilling to rewrite the truth.
Were you super upset, obviously, when you lost your crown and then Miss Cheerleaders America reached out to you and said, hey, we'll honor you?
Yes, it was heartbreaking, it was confusing, it was disappointing because Miss America has been honoring women for over 100 years and now they can't even define what a woman is. Heartbroken, it was a lot of soul searching, but God uses all things for good and here I am.
What were the circumstances that you spoke out about this?
So, by circumstances, do you mean like...
So, at what point did you say that men cannot be women?
Well, immediately as soon as we were given the contract, first thing, my mom and I, we started raising concern about it. Got on a conference call immediately with one of the directors for the Miss America organization, and weeks and weeks and weeks of pleading with them, sending videos, sending letters, emails, demand letters through Liberty Counsel, because they picked up my case, and they just, no, and they doubled down.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the f*** is that?
Democrats are utterly obsessed and entrenched with manipulation, whether that's manipulating the news to affect a political outcome, whether that's manipulating police body cam footage because they don't want accountability, or whether it's manipulating genetic reality that men are not women and women are not men. They thrive on manipulation, Jerry.
I mean, if they can get you to change basic biology, they can get you to change anything.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. Coming up next for our final segment, celebrating the 15-year anniversary of one of the first meme songs of the modern internet age. Details up next. Stay tuned.
At Advent, nasal congestion and sinus infections can be solved with an in-office 20-minute procedure. Elsewhere, expect surgery.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait, and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Puccini's 7 side locations. Puccini's Pizza Pasta.com. Puccini's 7 side locations. Puccini's Pizza Pasta.com.
Founded right here in Indianapolis in 1991 and winner of the World Pizza Championships in Parma, Italy.
Puccini's 7 side locations. Puccini's Pizza Pasta.com.
Start your engine! That's the American spirit at 200 miles per hour. A spectacle of freedom, innovation, and passion. The passion of nearly 500,000 race fans. An American tradition in its 110th edition. The Indianapolis 500, presented by Gamebridge.
Get tickets now at IMS.com.
United, we race.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Head to the contest page at WIBC.com and enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Yacht Rock Review Saturday, September 12th at Ruoff Music Center.
Darling, you got to let me know. Should I stay or should I go? if you say that you are mine.
93 WIBC, Ethan and Jerry filling in. Jerry, I've had an absolute blast with you this morning. It's been a lot of fun.
A heck of a way to go into the weekend, man.
Absolutely.
It's been a good one.
We are launching the listeners into what I hope will be a pleasant weekend. And Casey and the Dude will be back coming on Monday. But if you want to catch me and Jerry, you can listen to my show Saturday night on The Circle, 7 to 9 every Saturday. Tomorrow we'll be probably talking about a lot of the same stories we discussed today because, you know, that's this week in news. But, of course, I always try to have a good time. And also we will have another edition of Carl's Conspiracy Corner tomorrow. So make sure to catch that. Jerry, I understand you've launched a YouTube podcast recently as well.
Yep, myself and my good friend Brian Alvey, we launched a podcast. It's called Those Ash Holes, ASHHOLES. It's Week in Review, just two guys chopping it up. We're both veterans. A lot of this, but a lot more free talking because it's on YouTube. You can also find me on Twitter at Indy Spanglish. And my good deed for the day is, don't forget tomorrow is Valentine's Day, lovers. So go treat your Valentine to anything.
Yeah, and if you're single, don't be
Treat
afraid
yourself.
to treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
Thanks for listening to the show. Coming up on the 15th, oh, actually, it already happened, the 15-year anniversary of what has been mocked and reviled and said to be one of the worst songs ever released. Of course, I am referring to Rebecca Black's Friday, and I thought this was topical because today is Friday, and since it's Friday the 13th, what better way to launch into the weekend than with a recap of one of the most horrid atrocities against music ever perpetuated on mankind.
7 a.m. waking up in the morning, gotta be fresh, gotta go downstairs, gotta have my bowl, gotta have cereal, seeing everything, the time is going, ticking on and on, everybody's rushing, gotta get down to the bus stop, gotta catch my bus, I see my friends, kicking in the front seat, sitting in the back seat, gotta make my mind up, which seat can I take? It's Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday, everybody's looking forward to the weekend, Friday, Friday, getting down on Friday, everybody's looking forward to the weekend, partying, 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 fun, 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 looking forward to the weekend. We're driving on the highway, cruising so fast, I want time to fly. Fun, fun, think about fun. You know what it is. I got this, you got this. My friend is by my right. Hey, I got this, you got this. Now you know it. Kicking in the front seat, sitting in the back seat. Gotta make my mind up. Which seat can I take? It's Friday, Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend, Friday, Friday. Getting down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Partying, 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 partying. Fun, 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 fun. Looking forward to the weekend. Yesterday was Thursday, Thursday. Today it's Friday, Friday. We so excited. We so excited. We gonna have a ball today. Tomorrow is Saturday and Sunday comes afterwards. I don't want this weekend to end.
R&B, Rebecca Black. So chillin' in the front side, backseat. I'm driving, cruising, fast lane, switching lanes with a car by my side. Passing by, it's a school bus in front of me. Next tick tock, wanna scream. Check my time, it's Friday, it's a weekend. We gonna have fun. Come on, y'all.
Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. We gotta get down Friday, Friday, getting down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Partying, 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 partying. Fun, 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 fun. Looking forward to the weekend. Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to
was something, Jerry. That Renowned is supposed to be one of the worst songs ever produced, but it still hit number 58 on the Billboard Top 100. Mad Doug said if she was 13, she might enjoy this song. It's funny you say that because Rebecca Black, the artist of the song, was 13 when she produced this back in 2011. The song is now older than her when she first released it.
To put this in perspective, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was over here. I caught a beat a little bit. I was a little bit excited, all right? Now, this is in 2011. It did 140 million views.
Well, people were dogging on that song. They were mocking it left and right, but that's why it became one of the first major meme songs to be released. I mean, it really just caught fire. People making fun of the music video, making fun of the lyrics, all over the internet, but it cemented it forever in internet history and internet culture. It was a rich socialite mother who paid for her to produce this in a professional music studio. And look, if you got the money and you wanted to give a nice gift to your daughter, that's a pretty cool present.
Yeah, but all I care about is Friday the 13th, baby. Let's get it in.
Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC. Ethan and Jerry filling in. Thanks for listening, guys. Enjoy the weekend. See ya.
You don't want me, set me free. Exactly whom I'm supposed to be. Don't you know which clothes even fit me?
Hey, what's going on? It's Hammer from the Hammer and Nigel show. And I'm not going to lie to you. I needed help. I got a bald spot in the back of my head, and it's embarrassing. I see it when I'm on television. I see it when I'm on the YouTube channel. So I decided to reach out for help. And my friends at We Grow Hair Indie decided to help me out here. These guys are the absolute best. I was a little leery about it. I could not have a procedure that, one, hurt, or two, left me looking like I'd been scalped. But after I talked with Darren and the entire team at We Grow Hair Indie, they told me their state-of-the-art technology, the progress made in hair growth, it's going to be okay. If I can do this, you guys can do this. Contact the team at We Grow Hair Indie, 317-522-2995. That's 522-2995. Get that free evaluation. It's free. You can also go online to WeGrowHairIndie.com. Contact them today and do this with me. WeGrowHairIndie.com.
Life's full of unexpected joys, like problems with water. That's why there's Michaelis, a crew of